Welcome everybody to the Carpinteria Unified School District Public Meeting of Board of Education. We're going to start with a flag salute, so please stand. Salute, pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I just want to let the public know that we do have interpretation available tonight. If you need a headset, you can see Sonia there in the back. Also, if you're planning to speak on any item on the agenda, you'll need to fill out a blue speaker slip and hand to Monica, and we will call for those when we get to the agenda item. All right, so we're going to start with our report out of the closed session. Information was exchanged, but no action taken on item B2A, conference with labor negotiators. Right, we're on to item B3, approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Is that for both minutes? Okay. All right, item B4, approval of agenda and consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
Move to approve?
Second.
Discussion?
I just wanted to pull two items.
Okay.
Item C6 and item C9.
And I would like to pull item H4
Which one?
on page 6. H.
That's not consent agenda.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, so C6
Six.
we will put in business operations,
Same with the other.
and C9 is also, yeah, but both in business operations. Okay, so roll call?
Yep. Maureen?
Aye.
Rogelio?
Aye.
Jacqueline?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
Okay, we're on to item D, public interest reports presentations, and our first item is Carpinteria Education Foundation, presentation of donations. Are they here yet? Don't see them, so I'm gonna move that item to the end of D for now. Okay, so that means we are gonna go ahead with the Summerlin School presentation. Welcome.
Good evening. Tonight we're here to present to you a highlight about Summerlin School. I'm very happy to be a part of the Summerlin community. We have amazing students, talented teachers, great support staff, and a very involved parent group. All this goes into making Summerlin School a unique teaching and learning environment. Tonight, Sarah Leo, Shannon Colson, and Nicole Hughes will share with you a little bit about Summerlin Elementary.
So good.
Good evening, School Board President, trustees, and superintendent. Summerlin Elementary School has 62 students in kindergarten through 5th grade. We are located on a hill, and the entire student body and staff look at the beautiful ocean view all throughout the school day. The beauty of a small campus is that the students grow up developing relationships with each other, much like a family. School becomes an extension of that family, and you can find our little waves together outside of school in the community on a regular basis. Summerlin School is a place that builds a good foundation, ensuring that our students have the readiness to be productive members of society in a global economy.
So I would say our strength of Summerlin School is reading and writing. Our kids love to read. Our classroom libraries are fully stocked, so we barely even need to go to our school library because we have a plethora of books at a variety of levels. We also follow the Lucy Calkins units of study for writing workshop from kindergarten all the way through 5th grade. And it's a progression, so it builds on each other each year.
So in my class, the kindergarten and 1st grade class, we use the district adopted curriculum for language arts, which is the Harcourt program, as well as Lucy Calkins for writing. And what that looks like in the classroom is that for our whole group lessons, I teach a combination of phonics, spelling, sight words, and grammar to our little readers. And then we have an independent work block that's facilitated by an aide in the classroom while I pull small groups for reading. And at this point in the year, between 2 grade levels, I have a total of 6 differentiated reading groups. So that's everything from the decodable CVC mini books at the kindergarten level up to 2nd and 3rd grade texts. And so we have a really wide variety of readers, and the kids in my class just get so excited about becoming readers and then being readers. And then as far as our writing program goes, I also get the pleasure of teaching the 2 grade levels, the Lucy Calkins progression. So in kindergarten, the narrative that we start with is our small moment stories, which are stories about themselves. So they have all their information to draw on. And what that turns into in 1st grade is to channel that into writing realistic fiction stories and making that into a series. And we use the Henry and Mudge books, which are really fun, engaging texts, and we use those as our mentor text for the students. And then when we are working on our informational and our teaching books, the kindergarten students are learning how to write how-to books. So for example, they're writing about how to carve a pumpkin when we're in the middle of our October pumpkin unit. And then the 1st graders, they're working closer to the end of the trimester on their informational animal reports, and they just get so excited about how their reading and their writing are tied into the rest of the science and social studies curriculum that we're doing. And then the last one that we work on in that vein is our opinion writing. And in kindergarten, that is writing about how to make our school a better place, which in my opinion is kind of hard to do because we just love Summerlin so much. And in 1st grade, since they are such avid readers, they're working hard on their book reviews and then also on their movie reviews. So these are just the foundations for learning that we have for our kindergarten and 1st grade students in the language arts program at Summerlin.
In my 2-3 grade class, we spend a tremendous amount of our day focusing on English language arts standards, not only for the purpose of reading at grade level, but knowing that reading is an integral component of every subject, allowing us to be successful across all the educational strands. We focus on our reading lessons by recognizing key ideas such as asking and answering questions to demonstrate understanding of text and referring explicitly to the text as the basis for the answers. Also recounting stories on a multitude of genres with cultural sensitivity. Structure is important to be able to determine the meaning of words and phrases they are used in a text and distinguishing literal from non-literal language. We also teach our students how to refer to stories, dramas, and poems using correct terminology such as chapter, scene, and stanza. We teach them this by distinguishing their point of view from that of the narrator or characters. The integration of knowledge is being able to convey a story in words, compare and contrast themes, create a mood, and emphasize aspects of the text. By the end of each school year, we expect our students to read and comprehend literature at the high end of the grade level band, independently and proficiently.
So in both 4th and 5th grade, I use the Lucy Calkins units of study for Reader's Workshop and Writer's Workshop. And briefly, the components of Reader's Writer's Workshop is it's an hour for each, and then I do a 15 to 20-minute mini lesson that focuses on a standard or possibly even a skill so the students can access what we're going to be doing that day. And then we move into independent reading and writing time, which is about 30 minutes. Sometimes we'll do partner reading, but for the majority of the time it's independent reading and independent writing. And while we are reading, we're writing about our reading. So currently we're working on our Revolutionary War unit, and all the students in my class know the different types of nonfiction text structures, and we came up as a class different ways to take notes for each structure. You can see an example down on the left. I believe that one is cause and effect or problem solution. And then we also do just some writing about our reading, what we learned, what the main idea is, supporting details, what we found interesting. For writer's workshop, we work on long published pieces of writing. So right now, my class is writing a Revolutionary War book. Each individual student has their own book. One chapter is an informational report. One chapter is a historical narrative. And then the last chapter is an opinion essay about what they thought the most important event in the war was. For Readers and Writers Workshop, at the end of every unit, we have a sharing celebration, and that's really important to the students, so I try to make it meaningful. One celebration, I invite the parents. One, we teach our Revolutionary War books to the 2-3 class. Once we wrote an opinion essay about wanting chocolate milk at Summerlin School, and we gave it to Dr. Fox, and then now we get chocolate milk one day a week. So that's probably the most exciting part of that.
Our mathematics program at Summerland Elementary is very rigorous. As a staff, we work and plan together to support all of our students that they make sure they make adequate progress. We use the Bridges program for our primary lessons, where students receive direct instruction on concepts and skills, supported by a daily lesson in a different format through Number Corner, where they build their academic vocabulary using the calendar, and other mathematical attributes are woven into those lessons. FactsWise is taught to facilitate learning, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division facts, as well as number talks to support our students' mental math skills and computation strategies.
So since Summerland is all combination teachers, we all teach 2 grade levels. So we teach 2 Bridges math lessons and 2 Number Corner lessons as well. For FactsWise, we all give the pre-assessment, and we have students in individual groups for that. And Number Talks we do as intervention. So all the Number Talk strategies are taught in the Bridges lessons, and we review them for the students who forget them throughout the year.
So one of the things that makes our school different in terms of our mathematics instruction is that our team works to support all students in mathematics by using a cross-grade level model to support and extend student learning in these small groups. So kindergarten stands by itself, and I instruct the kindergartners in their math in the morning, and it's very concrete and game-based, yet within that I'm still able to differentiate the curriculum for the students based on whatever number concepts they have down. There's still a huge span of mathematical understanding, so we prepare the games ahead of time, and then as we're instructing in the lessons and I'm watching the students play, I'm also able to pull them and give them additional support on the side, either in one-on-one or in small groupings. However, the 1st through 3rd grade students, sometimes those students need a little bit more challenge or intervention at a different level. And they've already received their baseline understanding of mathematics. And so what I do in the afternoon for the 1st through 3rd grade students, we have a much more pictorial representation, even though we use hands-on activities and manipulatives to drive home those ideas. So to develop their computational and mental math skills, I use the FactsWise program every afternoon to practice the addition and subtraction facts with the children. And for those who need the additional practice and support on top of FactsWise, I hold an intervention group with the Number Talks program to provide the visual model to help them make those connections and help those 1st through 3rd grade students attain the mastery of their addition and subtraction facts. The students that are already ready for more of a challenge in the 1st through 3rd grade, they go to Dr. Colson's class and they get the extension that they need, also likewise using the FactsWise program and the Number Talks program, but at a higher level.
In 4th and 5th grade, we have the Math Super Bowl competition. So for extension, my students study and practice for that competition at the end of the year. So while those students that are getting their extension work on Math Super Bowl, then I have a group that I work on the 4th grade standards for 4th grade and 5th grade standards for 5th grade. And I also do additional math interventions. So I have a Number Talks group, which is just anyone 4th and 5th grade together that need to work on Number Talk, mental math strategies. And then I also have different FactsWise groups for students who need additional strategies there as well.
So some of the fun things that we get to do at Summerlin, we have a lot of enrichment opportunities that we get to provide to our students, and one of those is an ecology program. And Explore Ecology comes every week to our school, but our students rotate every other week. So one week we have a kindergarten class that goes, and then the next week the first grade, second grade, and then third grade, fourth grade, and then fifth grade. And each grade level gets a total of 30 minutes every other week. Students learn about plants and animals, they learn about composting, they get to do gardening, and then they get to check in on other life and earth and GSS standards that we are touching on in class as well. So it's another way that you see those cross-curricular concepts woven into our enrichment as well.
Starting in second grade at Summerland Elementary, the students receive 45 minutes a week of music instruction, and every week they are instructed by a highly qualified music teacher.
We also have an art teacher that comes to each class, and it's a total of 1 hour per week, so each class would be 3 hours in total. And he is from the Santa Barbara Museum of Art, so he takes a museum that's on exhibit, brings pictures back to the class, and he chooses something in that piece of artwork that the kids are going to work on, and then they replicate in their own way using that artistic technique. In the spring, Summerland has our spring musical, and it's with our entire school. So our theater teacher comes to the K1 class 30 minutes for once a week, and second and third grade, 45 minutes twice a week, fourth and fifth grade, 45 minutes twice a week. And our performance is at the end of the school year at main school. The fourth and fifth graders in my class hold all the main roles. Second and third grade have some smaller roles, and then they're also the chorus, and then the kindergarten first grade class is also the chorus.
So you can see there's a lot of school spirit at Summerland as well, and it's something that I really hold dear in my heart, some of the things that we get to participate in every year. One of those things, if you look in the top left corner, this is a picture of our field day celebration, which we hold at the end of school, the last day of school every year, and the kids get to participate school-wide in a whole bunch of different games that they don't normally get to do in PE. And they get to participate together. So the one that you're looking up there is cat and mouse with the parachute. They also have a water balloon toss, among other things. And then the picture down in the middle is another very special event that we started just a few years ago. This is our Summerland Thanksgiving Feast. And we put out a note to the parents about bringing in specific dishes, and parents sign up to bring everything. And while our students are learning all about the historical background of the first Thanksgiving, we hold this feast to celebrate together as a school. And you can see my first graders and my kindergartners down there as part of our unit. We go ahead and make our pilgrim hats, and we dress up as the pilgrims. The second and third grade class, while they're learning, they can choose whether they want to be pilgrims or Native Americans. And then our 4-5 students learn about the different Native American tribes as part of their history, and then they're dressing up as the Native American groups that they're learning about.
Not pictured is our Summerland Fall Festival, and that's when all the students dress up as their favorite book character, and in my class they do a character book report, and we all parade down Lily Avenue in Summerland in our costumes. It's a very fun event, and then in the afternoon we have the festival where we have fall festival games like Bob for Bagels and Squirt Gun Wars, and just it's a really fun celebratory day. And another resource we have in Summerland is our fire station. It's literally right where I'm taking the picture. We use the fire station. The K1 uses it for fire safety training. They go down there. And then we also go down just to thank them and celebrate them. So if anyone's retiring, we make posters, go down, tell them congratulations. After the natural disasters this year, each class also made posters, and the 2-3 class brought treats down to thank them. So that concludes our presentation. If you guys have any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer them.
Comments? Yeah. Does anyone else? Thank you guys so much for coming and presenting. It's always so fun to hear more about what's happening. And I actually used to teach at Summerland Visual Art because my mom was the teacher there for many years. Well, a good chunk of time. So I'm very familiar with the campus. And it does have a distinct feeling to it. You know, it's always had a very distinctive character. So thank you for trying to bring some of that to light. I'm really curious about this Lucy Calkins writing program. Is that something that's specific? It sounds like it's specific to Summerland.
Our
Curriculum,
Our
or-
district purchased it for, I believe, K through 5th.
Okay.
I want to say 4 years ago when I first came here. Some grade levels still teach it. And at Summerland, we think it's a really great program to teach all the way from K to 5th. So we teach it all the way through. But I know all the teachers in our elementary district have the book for Writer's Workshop.
Well, it sounds like if it's been working, you know, there might be something, I don't know, to look at exploring at other campuses. The one thing I just had a question about, just because it's something we're kind of looking at from a board point of view. I remember the school play, and that's something that's been kind of historic and distinctive to you guys. This might be a question for Dr. Fox too, but I know at Explore like on this enrichment page, is the theater program is specific to Summerland, isn't it?
I believe Carpinteria Family School also does the theater program.
Okay, and then Explore Ecology is at all the campuses. Is that correct? Explore Ecology,
Yes.
the gardening program. The music, is that specific to?
All elementary schools.
Okay,
All
okay.
K-12.
And the
actually.
art as well, is that?
Art, just like Canalino and Aliso next year, the parents funded the art
Okay, so
at Summerland.
yeah, that was my other question. It was going to be just is the funding. So it's the
Parent
parent funded for the art,
Yes, as
And
in
then-
Canalino this year.
and then is that true with the theater program too? That it's parent funded, because that's a great program.
It's the Children's Creative Project, and then also part of it is parent-funded.
Children creative and parent. Yeah, because I know it's such a campus wide. I mean, that's like a huge process every year, and it takes so much. And I think because you've got this really tight knit community, you're able to pull off something like that. But it would be fun, I think, to see more elementary theater programs if we could find a way to follow that model and branch
The
it out.
kids love it. So
Oh,
if
yeah.
that's a possibility, I would strongly recommend it.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. And also just those combo classes, I know it's another historical piece, and it's tough, but it sounds like what I'm hearing is that you're really finding some creative ways to make it work for all students and allowing them to kind of progress across the curriculums, which is, again, another place where maybe there's some more inspiration that can be taken from that. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just want to thank you all for all the work that you're doing, and I know this goes for Summerlin School, but all the teachers in our school, that this day and age we ask so much more of you. I know today you had a lockdown drill at Summerlin School, and by the end of the day you had to put that into practice, and so I know we ask a lot of teachers beyond just teaching our kids, and it's unfortunate that you all have to be put in this situation, but thank you to you, and thank for all our teachers for taking care of our kids so well. I mean, they spend so much time with you, and they are loved, so thank you so much.
I just want to comment on how well you guys collaborate and coordinate, and it's like this dance, and I'm really impressed by the kind of cross-grade level work that you guys are doing, and love to explore that more and how you organize that and get that accomplished. So you guys are a really great team. So thank you. All right.
And all I have is compliments for all of you. Enrichment, music, art, theater, reading, writing, math Super Bowl, and all I see through the slides and pictures are just smiling kids, smiling teachers. Thank you, and keep it up. Thank you.
So before you go, I just want to again thank all of you for working so hard and for inspiring our students to perform at the very top level. All the students for Summerlin achieve at the highest level in our district. So thank you so much for your hard work in inspiring that achievement. We appreciate you, so thank you.
Okay, I think I see Carpinteria Education Foundation here. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and move back to item D1 and hear a presentation of their donations. So, welcome CEF. Come on up.
let you.
Pam, you go first.
You tell us what we're doing.
Oh, gosh. Okay. This is Twan and Candy Overgag. They own Westerly Orchids, and they have generously donated the proceeds from their sales prior to the greenhouse tours to Aliso School this year. And so they'd like to present Dr. Fox with a check, if she could come up.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right. I didn't prepare anything. I'd just like to say a few words. My family has been here since 1978, operating Westerly Orchids, and we've had a lot of success, and we're very fortunate and thankful for that. We've have had a lot of employees here who have their kids in the school system here and are having great experiences with that, and we know that these schools can use all the help that they can get, and we're in a position to do that. And so it gives, Candy and I, who has worked at Aliso, and I went to Aliso briefly, it gives us such pleasure to be able to help out. We raised almost $16,000. We're gonna have a photo here.
Okay.
So there. So at Dr. Fox's request, we met with her, and you guys have a STEAM, have a STEAM program that you guys are really excited about, and it sounds like it's going to be amazing for the kids, and we're overwhelmed that we can do this for you guys.
Thank you so much.
We're so
We
happy.
really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you can't cash this. That's the word.
Okay, cash that one? Okay.
It's
Okay, perfect. Okay. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Doctor-
They've been amazing. I just want to say thank you publicly there. I'm really looking forward to helping our STEAM program with their help.
Awesome. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd just like to thank both Twana, you and Candy. Thank you very much for your, for this great gift and enthusiasm that you're both showing, for the program at Aliso and the district and the support to CEF. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, we're at item D3, recognition. So I'll hand it over to Superintendent Rigby.
Thank you. So we'd like to begin with the high school. Principal Corneo would like to recognize our athletic director, Mr. Patrick Cooney. Mr. Cooney not only has served as our athletic director, but he's also the varsity baseball coach, social studies, and PE teacher. He's an integral member of the educational community, and he serves as the director as one of the most active athletic programs in the county. Over 70% of our high school students participate in a sport at one point or another while they're in high school. And Mr. Cooney can be seen supervising sporting events, supporting our coaching staff, and providing guidance to our student athletes. He's been at CHS for over 15 years, and during this time, our athletic program has grown to include all the students at the high school in this warrior tradition. He continues to emphasize the importance of developing scholar athletes and works with coaches and parents to achieve the goal. So thank you, Athletic Director Mr. Cooney. On behalf of Principal Gloger at Rincon and Foothill, he'd like to recognize the CHS administration, Principal Corneo and Assistant Principal Vasquez, and again, Athletic Director Cooney, for sharing the high school playing fields with Rincon High School's flag football team. In January, Rincon High School started a flag football team, and they compete against alternative schools in the area. And the CHS administration coordinated with the Rincon administration and shared their outfield so that Rincon High School could practice and prepare for the tough competition. So we appreciate that collaboration. On behalf of CMS, Principal Ron Briggs would like to recognize and show gratitude to John Fowler, Jessica Gala, Robin McCulley, and Kevin O'Hara for their participation in the Santa Barbara Wellness Project. It was a training on Saturday on the 14th of April. These teachers will now be teaching skills and lessons learned on mindfulness, communication, stress and anxiety, and emotional regulation with their students through the end of the school year, and they hope to implement this program, a full implementation at the next school year. So we appreciate that they took their Saturday to attend the training. And then on behalf of Canalino and Family School, Principal Pursoon would like to recognize Bunny Leash for her hard work on the Scholastic Book Fair last week. and I can to attest to it. It was a complete success. My granddaughter bought several books, or I bought several books for my granddaughter. Bunny organized the entire event, manned the cash register with long lines, and helped students understand the concept of change as well as sales tax. In addition, Bunny has been working with the Aliso librarian to put on the annual Battle of the Books event that was held last Friday, April 20th. This is a great event for students to participate, and we have students participating from both our elementary schools, the middle school, as well as Mount Carmel. And so we really appreciate Bunny for all her hard work on these important events for our students. And then on behalf of Aliso, Principal Fox would like to recognize Brett Weiberg, Ryan Francisco, Amanda Oakes, Melissa Trammell, and Laura Manriquez for their outstanding efforts in implementing the STEAM learning experiences for all students. Their enthusiasm has helped bring more technology and engineering into the classes. It's helped increase parent involvement, and it leads the path on standards and instructional strategies. As they continue to expand from these beginning stages, we are really looking forward to an award-winning STEAM learning environment at Aliso. And then on behalf of Summerlin, Dr. Fox and the office staff at Summerlin, they'd like to recognize our district accountant, Nancy Morales, for the support she provides throughout the year. Whenever Judy has to call with a question or for assistance, Nancy is always there, willing to help out. Lots of orders have been placed on the system, and sometimes there are glitches, but Nancy's there to streamline that effort. So we appreciate Nancy at the district office. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're on to student representative report. Anna, hi.
Hi. Okay. So my student report for today is, first of all, a virtual enterprise had a very successful international competition. They placed first in booth and fifth in marketing. Be There was the company everyone was talking about, and they featured an app that sells discount travel and entertainment tickets. This is the 8th year that our virtual enterprise has participated in this highly competitive competition. Ms. Shamlin, our VE supervisor, guided 30 students along with 3 other chaperones as they explored New York and participated in VE competitions. Now, tomorrow, all students who were accepted to a UC university will be recognized by the Early Academic Outreach Program from UCSB. This is like the 7th annual UC Success Night held at CHS. This event will be held in the cafeteria. Hopefully everyone that got an invitation RSVP'd. It promises to be a very rewarding night for everyone involved.
And you'll be there.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank
We're
you.
proud of you.
Next week, our Muses program will be performing the musical 42nd Street. Performances will be from May 2nd through the 5th. They will begin at 7 p.m. You can purchase the tickets at the door, come out and support our theater arts program. Also, the Spring Fair will be held May 4th from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. for the public. Come and enjoy club-sponsored booths, pie-eating contests, and many other fun activities for the entire community. Monday, May 7th, is our annual open house. Come and visit our classrooms and see the wonderful displays of student works and experience student demonstrations in the various classes. Open house will be held from 5:30 to 7 p.m., and incoming 9th grader students are also invited to see many activities taking place that evening. Also, Monday, May 7th at 7 p.m., Carpinteria High School will be hosting the annual Academic Awards. This is an excellent night to recognize the academic efforts of all students. Invitations have already been sent out for this event. On Monday, May 7th, our placement test window begins, and students are currently studying hard for their tests. Our high school offers AP classes in biology, computer science, physics, Spanish, calculus, statistics, studio art 2D and 3D, world history, U.S. history, language and composition, and language and literature. We hope to add AP environmental science in the near future. Last thing, on Friday, May 11th, all current 8th grade students who have turned in their CHS registration packet will be invited to come to the high school from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. for a student orientation and presentation by our clubs and academic programs and athletics. That is all for tonight. Thank you.
Yeah.
A lot happening. Thank you, Anna.
Before we go on to our next agenda item, if there's going to be public comment on items not on the agenda, you'll need to submit a speaker slip to Monica. Okay? All right. We're on to D5, Superintendent's Report.
Great. So I'm going to start tonight's report with the recognition of our CUSD principals and assistant principals. We'd like to recognize them and acknowledge their hard work for improving student learning this school year, as well as the well-being of all their students. And last night, the Masons recognized them and celebrated our administration with a spaghetti dinner, so we appreciate the Masons. And that is Gerardo Corneo and Ray Vasquez at the high school, Ron Briggs and Jeanette Ruley at the middle school, Barnaby Gloger at Rincon and Foothill, Michelle Fox at Summerlin and Aliso, and Jamie Pursoon at Canalino and Carpinteria Family School. So we appreciate all their good work this year. And then regarding the virtual enterprise, so you heard from Anna, so we had 26 students that traveled to New York. So we're really proud of our students. They performed very well. It's an exciting class, and you are going to see a preview of their program in the next month. In May, we'll ask the class to join us with their teacher, Julie Shamblin, and they'll review their project. So we are looking forward to that. Open houses were held at Canalino and Family School, Aliso and Rincon Foothill these past 2 weeks. And the middle school will hold their open house this Thursday, April 26th. And you heard from Anna that the high school open house is May 7th. Summerlin's open house is May 16th. We encourage all parents and families to join us. We celebrate the students' work and visit with the teachers and staff. I mentioned earlier the Battle of the Books. So in 1930, the Battle of the Books was a Chicago radio program. Today, it's a reading incentive program, both in elementary and middle schools across the country. And all of the questions in the competition begin with the words, "In which book?" So students have read a number of books on the list, and they have to respond with the title of the book and the author. And they work in groups, and they have one member of the group who answers for them. Classroom teachers, reading specialists, and library media specialists spend many, many hours choosing those books and writing questions for each year's battles. And all of the books selected are available in paperback. And they select classics, award winners, and new favorites, and a range of reading levels so all students can participate. We participate in the Battle of Books, and our winners will participate in the Santa Barbara County Battle of the Books. So we appreciate all the library media specialists who worked with that event last week. Then I'm proud to announce that the county has opened their employee portal. So CUSD now has an online employee portal, which was launched this week to provide all employees with easy access to all their personnel information. So you can check your leave balances, you can look at your previous W-2 forms, your past paycheck stubs, your health and welfare plans and information, all your forms, all your reporting. So it's taken a number of years, but we now have our online HR portal for employees. Isn't that fabulous? And then Measure You. So our 2018 projects have officially begun. The bidding and contract award process is near completion with the final bid awards on tonight's agenda for approval. At CMS, you must, if you've been on the campus, you've noticed the contract has already begun the mobilization and trenching for the first portion of the site work. As a matter of fact, they trenched so well that they hit a water line. Yeah, which, happens in construction, so I want everyone to understand that this happens in construction. It's a headache for everybody who's doing the work, but you also know that in public buildings, when you hit a water line, you have to shut off the water. When you shut off the water, there's no toilets, and when there's no toilets, there's no school, right? So the good news is it was at 1:15. So that means we didn't miss too much school, but we had to close school, and I really thank and appreciate all the families at CMS and the staff at CMS that were very flexible and got everybody home safely. And it was fixed within 2 hours, so I appreciate Dave Winiger, Ernie Kais, and all the crew that got it done. So stay tuned. That's probably not going to be the first water line the last one. It was the first one, right? Okay. So site work at Canalino and the high school will begin in early May. And now we're looking at reviewing the options for furnishing the classrooms, in which we'll have a district-wide standard for purchasing equipment for the classrooms and desks and chairs. And we'll first furnish the Gen 7 classrooms, and the other furnishings will be ordered for the remaining classrooms as we complete the modernization projects. The Citizens Bond Oversight Committee met last week. They reviewed the finances for Measure U and expenditures to date, and all those reports are included in this agenda. I want to remind you that tomorrow's the big day for the groundbreaking ceremonies. So 3:30 at Catalino and Family School, and 4 o'clock at the high school, and 4:30 at CMS. Are some of you able to attend with us?
Yeah, I have it on my calendar.
Okay, great. We really appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Monica, any agenda or public comment
We only have public comments after F1.
for DLI? Okay, great. All right, we're on to item E, board policies. First is board policy and administrative regulation 1312.3, community relations uniform complaint procedures. This is the first reading. So can I get a motion?
I move to approve.
Second?
Okay, discussion from the committee members?
Basically, this one was one of those ones that we're just kind of updating to make it more up to date. So there was very little discussion in the meeting. It was mostly just looking at the California state standard and just making sure that ours pretty much reflected that alignment in preparation, partially in preparation for our recertification, but also just for best practices.
So not a lot of changes.
There were some changes, but they weren't. We felt they were all positive around kind of 21st century models of is discipline even the right word? But school practices towards discipline. Roger, did you have any other?
Everything went fine, and no major changes.
Okay. All right. So for board policy and admin regulation 1312.3, have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passes. Board policy and administrative regulation 5144, students discipline. First reading.
Move to approve?
I'll second that.
And I was actually sorry, I got confused about those for a second. So my comments were actually geared towards the discipline policy. I apologize.
Okay.
It's probably too late now to go back and discuss. Anyways, both of them were basically just keeping in alignment with CSBA. So 21st century best practices, some legal changes that have come down from the state that we now have to be more inclusive. That's it.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. All right, we're on to item F, educational services, F1 elementary multilingual bilingual programs for the 2018-2019 school year.
Great, thanks. So I bring this item forward for more discussion and some consideration for board action. At the beginning, or about a month ago, when we were involved with kindergarten enrollment, we were surprised about the number of responses that we received for the choice program of DLI. So rather than holding the lottery and continuing with the board-approved recommendation from last February, we began to investigate how we could serve the number of parents that were interested in the DLI program, because we had an overwhelming response as well as significant increase. As a matter of fact, if you look at the last page of your handout, what was indicated as of April 16th is that last year we had 57 families, or 39% of the K families interested in DLI, and this year the number increased to 64 families that were interested, and that's 41%. So we're seeing an increase of interest. So rather than hold the lottery, we began to examine what might be some options and ways that we could support this family interest. In addition, according to Proposition 58, when you have more than 20 families at a school site that are interested in a multilingual biliteracy program, then it requires the district to explore and consider implementation to the extent possible of a multilingual bilingual program at that particular school site. So there's two reasons why we did not hold the lottery. One is we wanted to respond to the increased number of parent interest for DLI, and number two, we needed to meet the requirement of Proposition 58 for Aliso School. Because if you look at the numbers, as of April 16th, there were 22 families that were interested. And now, as of today, there's 2 more, so there's 24 actually families that are interested in DLI. So last time we were together, we did a presentation of DLI, and we recommended expanding the class at Catalino from 2K classes to 3K classes for next year. And there's a lot of consideration in thinking about expanding that class, especially if you have 24 families leaving Aliso. So I want to give you a little background information and then a current recommendation. So this is directly related to the materials that I provided. So I just want to remind you that with the actual language, last February 2017, the board approved a 6-year pilot dual language immersion program starting with 2K classes at Catalino with a random lottery for any interested students and an ongoing yearly assessment to measure student achievement with an ongoing dual language instruction committee to map out future programs at all schools and across the grades. So we enrolled 33 from the lottery, which, by the way the lottery was held is we chose 1/3 English, 1/3 Spanish speaking, and 1/3 bilingual. So those are the 3 groups. So 33 Catalino kindergarten students were enrolled and 15 Aliso kindergarten students were enrolled. 2 students have moved since fall, so we have 23 students in each class right now. Curriculum is the same as the English-only K classrooms, except, as you saw in the presentation last week, or 2 weeks ago, instruction is delivered in Spanish. Assessments are also similar to what we provide for English-only classrooms, but they're given in Spanish. And reading and math progress, that progress is monitored. Mid-year assessment results indicate that our DLI K students are making good progress, and we do expect that of 85% mastery of the K grade level standards by June from the current K DLI students. Additionally, this fall we implemented 30-minute daily instruction of directed, explicit English language development in all elementary classrooms. Now, here's our current consideration. So this spring, with the latest number, as of today, we have 24 Aliso K families and 44 Catalino K families that have expressed interest in the DLI program. And so we engaged in an extensive discussion at the last board meeting regarding the expansion of the DLI K classroom at Catalino. There was also some discussion about Aliso's response to the number of 24 families that are very interested in a multilingual, bilingual program. I've also met with principals at both school sites as well as teachers to discuss our response to the increased family interest in the DLI classrooms and multilingual biliteracy programs. So in doing research, the California Association of Bilingual Education, so CABE, they have identified 6 models that are research-based for multilingual biliteracy programs. They describe one model as one-way immersion. They also talk about 2 different types of dual language immersion programs, 50-50 or 90-10. There's a developmental program, a heritage program, and a foreign language elementary experience or program, which means for us it would be non-native speakers of a target language. So English-only speakers would receive language instruction in Spanish. After consideration, we are recommending that Catalino continue to offer the DLI program as they've designed it, which is a 90-10, with 2 K classes and 2 grade 1 classes in fall of 2018. But we also are recommending that to meet the needs of the parents who are interested, that we begin planning for increasing those K1 classes to 3 classes each in fall of 2019, because approximately 20 students will not be able to enroll in that DLI class this year, but could enroll in grade 1 in the fall. We also recommend that the Aliso team explore and pilot one of the model programs next fall, that they explore, and they actually pilot it second semester next year with implementation the following year. And that while we're doing the pilots, as well as while Catalino is implementing their 4 classes of DLI, that we develop an assessment model that is improved over the current assessment process, in which we collect and analyze their grade level data to monitor student progress in both languages in both those models, and provide that report to the board on an annual basis. In addition, while we're working in those programs, we need to be able to make adjustments based on student data and the progress monitoring of the students. And then we are also recommending that the board make, that the district make programmatic adjustments based on student achievement and parent interest on an annual basis. So those are our recommendations. So I'm going to summarize. As board members, what we're asking is there's essentially 3 options that we're suggesting to resolve our concern of we're limited right now with 2 K classes, but we have a huge interest. So the first option, and then there can be hybrid. So this is the way we're going to start. We're starting is that the first option is we continue doing what you agreed to in February 2017. That means you do 2 K classes and 2 first grade classes, and you're not expanding. And then there'll be 2 second grade classes, 2 third grade classes. You know, you'll continue the 2 classes, K-5, no expansion. At the same time, you did recommend that we investigate a multilingual, bilingual. Well, you said here dual language instruction committee. What I would suggest is that that really needs to be a recommendation to investigate multilingual, bilingual programs for LISO and one of the 6 models. Okay, that would be one choice. The second option is what we presented last week, and that is to expand Catalino. So there'll be 3 K classes at Catalino. And then I would add at the same time, we still need to have a LISO investigate the 6 models and make a determination and pilot a model and have something in place for fall of 2019. And then the third recommendation is that we stay with 2 this year, 2K and 2-1. However, this year we vote to expand the following year to have 3 K classes at Catalino, 3 first grade classes, and the families that can't enroll this year in kindergarten will be able to enroll, will have priority for first grade. So what we're saying to the families is not no, but not yet. Does that make sense? Not yet. Not in kindergarten, but in first grade. At the same time, Aliso needs to continue to investigate one of the models, pilot those models, that model, and have it fully implemented in kindergarten and first grade fall of 2019. Yes, fall of 2019. Okay. Now that's a lot of information, so can I help you? Do you have questions about those options or comments, or how can I help?
So I was going to suggest we actually hear public comment before we discuss, just so that we get.
Can I just
more
ask one
input?
really,
Sure.
really
Yes.
nut and bolt type question, which is there a cost associated to either expanding to an additional kindergarten next fall, and or a cost associated with expanding in 2019-2020, the expansion plan for just 1 extra kinder next year, and or the possibility of a kinder and a first the following year? What are the costs?
You mean additional costs than what we've budgeted?
Right.
Yeah, there are no additional costs than what we've budgeted, because we either have a teacher, we're going to have teachers teaching those K students. So they're either going to be teaching them in English or teaching them in dual language. We still have those K students.
So just to clarify, this is not a fiscal consideration.
Not for adding a 3rd K class
Thank you.
at this time.
Although I think we discussed that there would be additional professional development needed and some additional materials. Is that correct? Maureen?
Oh, additional materials. Yes,
That
yes.
would be a
yeah.
fiscal impact.
Is it substantial? Is that cost substantial?
Well, you're getting 20 copies of Maravilla Villa that we don't have, Maravilla that we wouldn't have. But we're not buying then the 20 copies of the materials that we would need for those K students in English.
Okay.
And would those 24 families that are signed up now, would they have priority in that K class, that first grade class?
So the families that don't get into kindergarten would then have the priority of that first grade classroom.
Okay.
In
Essentially,
2019?
that would be the class.
That would be the class.
Yes. Pardon me?
At Catalina.
Yes.
The last nut, sorry, I did have one more nut and bolt question. For next year, is the plan still to have 2 kindergartens of 20 students each?
I think in talking with Canalino, Jamie has talked with the staff, and because of the high response, it will be 24 and 24. There'll be 48.
Definitely.
Yes.
That's definitive.
Yes,
Okay.
because we want to be responsive to parents. So we will have the lottery next week, and there will be 48 slots available. And it'll be a third English only, a third Spanish, a third bilingual, and there is one sibling family. There's one family with a sibling, and we will give priority to that one sibling because we do believe families need to be together for next year. That's next year only I'm talking about.
Well, except that our policy, well, anyways, I don't think we should get into it. I think you're right to open it up because we do have a lot of families really, really interested in talking.
How many do we have?
We have 12. With 2 of them, they sit at their time. So we're going to go in the order they were received. 3 minutes?
36 minutes, so we'll do 3 minutes.
We'll do 3?
Each. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to start with Jessica Clark and Lee Ann Anderson and Carly Bass seated their time to her.
Sure. Good evening. Okay. You have already heard me say at the last board meeting that I am in favor of the dual language immersion program expanding to 3 kindergarten classrooms for next school year in order to accommodate the requests from families to be in the program. I feel it is important for local school district to be responsive to its constituents or families and children. Thank you as volunteers for representing the community and acting upon what the community indicates it wants and needs to be successful. We have heard about the strong research base for DLI, the high levels of parent engagement, especially for Spanish-speaking families, and that the current cohort of students in the first year of the program are doing really well. We have also read in recent letters that the issue of Aliso's student population is not solved by preventing a third class from starting. The students from Aliso's attendance area could all, or mostly all, be accepted into the program through the lottery, so Aliso's student count will be affected regardless. In addition, it is important to note that families want to send their students to schools where teachers publicly express their focus on the needs of students and families, not on the adults. The most important factor I would like to focus on is that DLI is a model that is reflective of the demographics of our community. The community of Carpinteria is largely made up of native English speakers and native Spanish speakers. Over the years, we have struggled to bring those 2 groups together to engage in a common purpose and bridge the linguistic and cultural divide that exists in Carpinteria. The DLI program has, in 1 year, made more strides towards that collaboration than any other issue or program in the past. Any other program in the past. We have almost 70 families from both English and Spanish-speaking families asking you to ensure that they are able to take advantage of this opportunity, not only for their child's education, but for their family's involvement in an important effort to bring our community together. If Catalino is willing and able to provide this opportunity, it seems it is incumbent upon the board and the district to provide it. I was very fortunate to grow up attending public school in Carpinteria, where my experience was largely affected by the involvement of my parents and other parents. I knew many of my schoolmates' parents as they were often in the classroom, on campus, or attending field trips. Some of these parents were English speakers and some Spanish. The faces of these parents became familiar and safe and created a sense of comfort at school and in my community. I still see many of these parents today around town, which increases a sense of community. Parent engagement is an extremely important factor in the success of a child's education. And when you are able to have parents from all linguistic backgrounds work together towards a common goal of creating a positive environment for their children, many wonderful things begin to take shape community-wide. In an era where school violence and fear is way too real in the hearts and minds of our country's children, I truly cannot think of a better way to help our children than to bridge any cultural divides in our community, create strong relationships between all families, meet the requests of so many parents that want to be a part of this. I implore you to listen to what your community is asking you to do and allow children and families to enter a program that Catalino School is fully capable of providing. This is a letter written by Bryn Pitterly. She is quite ill. Her twins will be coming into Catalino next year. My twins, Sam and Amelia, will be starting kindergarten in the fall. I have been extremely lucky that I have had the opportunity to have my kids attend preschool where I work since they were 4 months old. Prior to their birth, their daycare center and preschool implemented a bilingual program in each classroom. For the hours that they attended, they were equally exposed to both English and Spanish from before they could speak. As they first learned to speak, they used Spanish and English interchangeably. They used words like leche, agua, and mas before they used the English equivalents, despite living in an English-speaking household. They equally understood English speakers and Spanish speakers and hardly realized they were learning two languages. As they got older, vocabularies got bigger, and they conversed more with their family, siblings, and English-speaking friends. They gravitated more towards English and away from Spanish. They still understand what they hear, but use it less as their lives demand it less. I was thrilled when DLI was initially approved, so they could have a way to continue to robustly use their Spanish. There is simply no better way to be set up to be bilingual than to begin learning at 4 months old and never have to stop. Without the addition of the third DLI classroom, we run the risk of not getting a spot in the program. Especially with twins, our family needs 2 spots. I can't imagine the loss they will endure, to have to pause their bilingual education now. There simply is no substitute from learning a second language as a young child. Studies confirm that people who learn a second language in early childhood have the greatest chance of becoming native speakers, whereas those who learn as adults will likely never attain full fluency. A pause in their bilingual education now will likely permanently affect their ability to master a second language. Please consider the long-term benefits to this program provides to our children, and help us give our kids the tools to be their best selves as they grow and learn now into adulthood. Thank you so much. I'm not sure if this was supposed to be read, but she is so nervous about this. She so desperately wants them in dual language immersion. Thank you.
Next, we have Luisa Ornelas.
Buenas noches. Hola, mi nombre es Luisa Ornelas y estoy aquí para pedirles que voten a favor de agregar una clase de kinder de doble inmersión para el año escolar 2018 a 2019. Si no es posible esa opción, entonces voten a favor de agregar una clase de primer grado para el año escolar 2019 a 2020. La mayoría de los que estamos presentes tenemos algo en común. Creemos que el ser bilingüe es un beneficio sin duda. Una persona que habla 2 idiomas rompe barreras. Son más adaptables, superan a los monolingües en las medidas generales de la función ejecutiva. Bilingües pueden prestar atención concentrada sin distraerse y también mejorar la capacidad de cambiar de una tarea a otra. Yo quiero que mi hijo tome las clases de doble inmersión. Quiero que mi hijo tenga mayor oportunidades en el futuro. Quiero que mi hijo se comunique con sus abuelos y familia en México. Quiero que sepa el lenguaje de sus raíces. Recientemente contacté a varias familias que hablan español, que están interesadas en el programa de doble inmersión para sus hijos. Algunos están aquí y otros no pudieron venir. Pero quería comentar de que hablé con una familia que me dijo que no podían llevar a sus hijos a Canalino para las clases de doble inmersión, así es que se van a quedar con las clases normales de Aliso. Me pareció muy triste, porque hay muchas familias que por la falta de apoyo de este programa en Aliso, sus hijos pierden la oportunidad de tomar clases de doble inmersión. Muchas gracias.
Next, we have Valentina Campuzano.
Do we have a translator for us? If someone wants to speak in Spanish, is it possible to translate what they're saying for us?
Sonia? Let me call Sonia. ¿Va a hablar usted en inglés?
Español.
Español, permítame un segundo, sí.
Okay.
Cuando esté lista me dice, señora. ¿Ya está lista?
Buenas noches. Mi nombre es Valentina Campuzano. Soy mamá de 3 niños. Mi hijo Gabriel, de 5 años, asistirá a kinder este año. Me gustaría que tomara clases de doble inmersión para que aprenda español mejor, pueda comunicarse con mi familia en México, tenga más oportunidades y un mejor futuro. Quiero pedir que tomen en cuenta una tercera clase, si es posible. Muchas gracias por su atención y buenas noches.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Valentina Campuzano. I am a mother of 3 kids, and my son Gabriel is 5 years old. Will assist the upcoming year in kindergarten. I would like for him to be involved in the classes of the DLI. So that he could understand and learn Spanish, his native language, much better. So that he could also communicate with his family in Mexico, and that he could also have opportunities and have a better future. I would like to ask you to consider to take into account the 3rd class, if it is possible. Thank you so much for your attention. Good evening.
Next, Ana Mendiola.
Hola.
Cuando esté lista me dice.
Sí, ya. Mi nombre es Ana Mendiola y Estoy aquí porque tengo 3 hijos, 4, pero uno lo tengo en la high school y 3 en la Canalino. Y estoy aquí porque mi hija, Sadie Bernal, va a pasar a kinder y quiero que ella tenga una segunda clase que sea el español, para que ella lleve los 2 idiomas y pueda comunicarse con mi familia allá en México.
Good evening. Her name is Ana Mendiola, and she has 3 kids, 4, but 1 is older now, that assist Catalino, and she would like to see them be able to to attend the dual language immersion program. She wants them to have the opportunity to learn both languages to preserve the native tongue so that they could communicate with their family in Mexico.
Y les doy las gracias por apoyar esta tercera invención para todos los niños que quieran, o sí los papás que quieran poner sus niños a estudiar.
She thanks you for your support in considering a 3rd class so that all the parents that want to have their kids in the program could in fact have their kids in the program.
Y gracias.
Thank
Y
you.
buenas noches.
Good night.
Next, Sara Alvarez.
Okay, I'm ready. Can you hear me? Good evening, board. My name is Sarah, and my child is an applicant for entry into the DLI program for kindergarten this fall. I'd like to share an experience that I had just this past weekend. I was at a barbecue with friends, and one of your current DLI students from an English-speaking family was there. I don't speak Spanish well, but I did ask him a question in Spanish, and he answered me in Spanish effortlessly. I was impressed because outside the familiarity of his DLI classroom, his classmates, and his DLI teacher, he responded to me in Spanish, someone who has never spoken to him in Spanish before. His parents, his teachers, and you board members should be so proud. And we know from the research presented to this board in the past that this student will be critical to the success of English learners as they progress through the program. So you have a school that is prepared to deliver to Prop 58 at this time for your district. And you have a school that is prepared to expand, has invested educators and staff, and teachers volunteering to support expansion this fall. And you have almost 70 students and their families who know this is still a pilot program but are asking to be included. If you vote no to expand, but my child does get in by lottery to DLI this fall, I admit that I would still be a little disappointed that my child will not get the opportunity to grow with the 20 excluded students within this district toward the common goal of biliteracy. And I will be disappointed for the 20-plus families and the program because we don't know what those 20 families can bring to the table. From my experience meeting many of the applicant families over the past month, I'm inspired by their interest and devotion to their children's education, and I don't want to see anyone excluded. For these reasons and the data I have seen, and by Principal Pursoon's creative solutions to be responsive to parents, I think this district is equipped to support expansion of DLI. So please do not vote no and deny access to approximately 7 Spanish-speaking families who want to be a part of this program. Please vote yes and support inclusion of the 7 bilingual and 7 English-speaking students that are shown to be critical to the success of Spanish speakers in the dual immersion model. So please vote for expansion and support inclusion of all interested. Thank you.
Next, Andrew Ferez.
Yeah, I'm ready. Hi, I'm a proud DLI parent. I'm Andrew. I'm here to talk in 2 capacities. I'm a professor of education at UCSB, and I'm currently the interim director of the teacher education program. So first, I'd like to address the availability of teachers. Right now, we have an elective where we are training candidates in the pedagogy of bilingual education, and many of them will come out and get their B-clad and be prepared to teach in bilingual programs. And many of them have expressed interest in programs such as this in Carpinteria. In the long term, we'd like to establish a bilingual program at UCSB where we would have a local source of credentialed bilingual educators that could teach in this district. And we'd also look to partner with CARP to host student teachers in bilingual programs. It would be it would be a great opportunity for both UCSB and the district. My expertise is in special education. At the core, I'm a special education teacher, and my role mainly at UCSB, instead of being an interim administrator, which is interesting, my real role is training special education teachers to teach students with moderate severe disabilities. And one of the key things that we focus on is making sure that these kids that have been historically disenfranchised have opportunities to practice their expressive language skills in whatever manner. Many of these kids use iPads to communicate, sign language, picture cards. Now, the crux of everything is opportunity to use their language so they can build on that. And we need to expand the DLI program so we can increase these opportunities for the Spanish-only families, students, the bilingual students, and the English-speaking students. It's going to be a boon to the development of all their expressive language skills. So this expansion of the DLI program is an opportunity that I don't just urge you to take up this opportunity and expand the program. In my professional opinion, I recommend you do it. If the success of your students and achievement is at the core of the mission of this district, you need to expand this program. Thank you.
Aja Forer.
Let me get my pen and paper ready. All right, there we go. Hi. Research shows that bilinguals outperform monolinguals in the areas of divergent thinking, pattern recognition, and problem solving. These are skills that our children will have from a young age because of this program that you're considering not expanding. The need is here from this community. Being bilingual is an invaluable life skill in this day and age, a skill that employers find exceptionally desirable. I, like most parents, want to give my children as much of a leg up as possible in life. This program would provide a skill that would allow them to look at jobs not just in the United States, but in Spanish-speaking countries as well. This program serves our children and the community's need as a whole. It has helped bridge a gap between cultures, creating a more inclusive environment throughout the school and the community. Having a parent involved in their children's education has proved that the child excels. Hispanic parents are involving themselves for the first time in this community in their children's education because of this program. These children will excel in their education because of this. I myself, as a previous educator, have seen how children excel when their parents involve themselves in their education. When people learn a different language, they have a greater understanding, tolerance, appreciation, and respect for other languages and cultures, which is so needed in today's world. It expands your worldwide view, so you not only know differently, you think differently. This program mainly as well means to me that my children will have a deeper connection to their Hispanic roots.
Teresa Benitez.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Teresa Benítez. Mi hija va a cursar kindergarten este año.
Good evening. ¿Su nombre?
Teresa Benítez.
Teresa Benítez, and her daughter will be incoming into the kindergarten class.
Y pues somos primerizos en esto y nos gustaría que mi hija pudiera cursar este curso de doble inversión, porque es algo que la va a llevar a ser más grande, a atravesar barreras.
We're very new to this, and she's so excited to be able to have the opportunity for her daughter to learn in Spanish. Learning in Spanish, being bilingual, will help her to have so many more opportunities and will help her to cross boundaries, into many other things.
Y nos gustaría que ustedes aprobaran este punto de agregar otra clase más.
And she'd like for you to consider to add another class to expand the program.
O considérenlo también abrirlo en la Lison. Son muchos niños los que lo necesitan.
And consider also expanding to Aliso. There are so many kids that would like to do it there as well.
Ya, eso es todo. Gracias.
That is all. Thank you very much.
Julia Meyer.
Hello, everybody. I grew up here in Carpinteria, but I attended private school in Santa Barbara. And it was a struggle to be part of a community, but also to be apart from it. To know your neighbors, but not to engage them and truly be participant in their lives. When I see the opportunity that the dual language instruction presents to my own children, to truly integrate the community of Carpinteria is really at the top of my list. Teaching my children that Spanish speaking is valuable, important, and good is the right thing to do. To educate our children in the multi-languages that are accurately reflective of what makes up this community, so that in the stores, at the park, and walking around town, they can engage and participate in their communities rather than remain apart from them. With the passage of Prop 58, dual language instruction will become the standard in Carpinteria and in communities like ours. So I see that the Carpinteria School District has the opportunity to get ahead of the curve as not only an early adopter, but as a trailblazer. By expanding the program to accept the children wanting this instruction for the 2018 and 19 school year, we are, as a community, embracing what will be the inevitable future. This gives another year of children the education that they and we are all asking for. Instead of delaying for a year, which will mean that 25 children will be forced to find alternatives not get the education that we are capable of giving them. While 1 year may not seem of great consequence, the evidence is obviously clear that the earlier we start the dual language instruction, the better it's going to be for everyone. Canalino is absolutely capable of instructing our children, and I ask you, the board, to please allow Canalino to instruct our children so that the families don't have to look outside the district for what they're looking for. So thank you.
Paola Rodriguez.
Hi, good evening. My name is Paola Rodriguez, and I would just like to say that I am in favor of expanding the program. I know there's a lot to consider, and I don't think that you take that lightly. I am excited that I was part of the task force on the last year of the DLI, and was elated that we are able to start, and my daughter, who is in the kindergarten class this year, has been such a testament to the fact that we are a bilingual family. She is such an asset to that class, I think. She's able to translate to her peers. She is part of the bilingual group. She is able to, receive the Spanish instruction and kind of bridge the gap with her English-speaking peers, and much like I did when I was growing up. And so I'm just so excited to be able to continue the program and expand the program so that my son, who's going to be in kindergarten next year, and then my other son in a few years, will be able to have the same opportunity from a bilingual family, not only to completely become biliterate, but just to be able to be that kind of bridge in the community. They've got a foot in both worlds, and it's a beautiful thing. I'm also here to ask you to include a sibling policy in this dual language immersion program. Attrition is real. It's part of any program, and we want to be able to not have families be split between two schools, or decide that if they have multiples, to then pull their kids out and then go to a different program. I know a lot has been considered to say that it could be elitist, or it's not particularly fair, but I want to say that this is not a school of choice. This is a program of choice. And the demographics has been beautifully laid out: a third English only, a third Spanish only, and a third bilingual. So the siblings fit in that demographic great. It just seems like a really great addition to an already growing program. Equity in families. Should my son not get in, then there's just two cultures, two different ways that they're going to learn, and they're not going to be able to practice with each other, and they're not going to be able to grow in that together. I think that would be kind of a travesty for my family, but for other families that would exclude them. Other successful DLI programs in the Riverside Unified District, in the Corona Norco District, I know in the districts that have piloted those programs in Utah, they all have sibling policies because it just adds to the success of the program. And just to give us support. We're happy to, be there and volunteer and be a part of the program, and you've got our vote, for the 6 years. I think supporting the families that are giving our kids up to see this happen would be awesome. Support us to say our families can be together. So let's put that part in, we should add it to the master plan and really move forward with expanding. Thank you.
Hannah Goodfield.
You ready? I'm ready. Hi, I am a mother of a, hey neighbor. I'm a mother of a kindergartner now who's thriving in the program. I even learned the Spanish word for booger today. So it's going out of the scope of the education, and it's really bringing such cohesiveness amongst all the students and their families. And I'm a huge supporter of expansion and sibling family things. And, countries around the world are all speaking multiple languages. Why would we stop it here when our community is about 80-20 of whatever, and anywhere? The demand is here, and the support is here, and the love for the program to see its successfulness is evident. So please consider expanding. Thank you.
Mark Matthews.
Good evening. I just have a few remarks about the DLI coming up. I really feel that language is just the most fundamental bridge when it comes to culture and people and differences, and forging all those together to make the Carpinteria the community that we envision it to be. We actually missed DLI with our first child, and the way things are now, we may or may not get it with our second child. We're really hoping that we do get in, but I guess we'll see how things go this evening. Your own legacies are here also being reflected. I feel like this is a real crossroads for everybody in terms of what we're embracing and where we see the future going, and how we can really forge a commonality going forward. So, thank you.
Kim Ortega.
Good evening, board members and community. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I was here a couple of weeks ago at the last board meeting and spoke, and I wanted to reiterate my excitement and dedication to the DLI program. I also understand the concerns that board members and community members have expressed with expanding the program, and I think that through being solution-oriented and thinking about parent and student needs, that we can figure this out. Even if there are some bumps along the road, I still think it's totally possible to expand the program next year. I think one of the major concerns last time was shifting students from Aliso to Canalino, and I think that it would probably be only temporary that would happen, because I know that the superintendent is working with Aliso to try to expand or help them figure out what their multilingual program is going to be. So the parents that would be in Canalino, shifted from Canalino to Aliso this coming year, could opt into the multilingual program that Aliso has in the future, whatever they decide to do. So I think that that concern about staffing is something that could be worked out. And I think at this point, you're hearing from the community how much they want this and the benefits for all students, not just the students in the DLI program, but the benefits for moving forward in terms of our community are urging you and proving to you that this is the right choice to make. So I would do the same. Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, so Diana presented us with 3 options. There's no motion right now. I guess we could start by a motion and then discuss that motion.
I move to approve the program expansion for next fall to expand to 3 classrooms at Catalino.
So not the recommendation, but a total.
I move to approve 3 classrooms for Catalino for next fall, with a plan in place for Aliso to move forward on a multilingual program, and to continue our initial idea of a dual language instruction committee, with with the program being now in place as a permanent program.
On that motion? Okay, there's no second. Does anyone have another motion?
I move to approve the recommended program as listed in Diana's, which is a DLI classroom, 90-10 with 2 K classes, 2 grade 1 classes in fall 2018-19, as a permanent program, and also having the Aliso team continue to explore a multilingual model that would be in place by February 19, and the addition of the families excluded from this year's kinder lottery to be given first right of refusal for the first grade expansion in 2019-2020.
Second on that one?
I would amend that to continue the pilot I'm in favor of that, other than making it permanent. I think we still need to pilot it. So
let's go with that motion and discuss. Right. Okay? All right.
Is there a second?
Yeah, Andy
I'll
second.
second.
Okay. All right, anyone want to begin?
Just really quickly, there's been an intense amount of public support for expanding for next fall. I just want to acknowledge that. The board actually received 9 letters outside of the 7 parents that spoke tonight. And not a single letter had any interest in postponing this. There's no cost to postpone. There's no cost benefit in terms of actual physical cost related to postponing it. There's no academic benefit that we've been told to consider to postponing it. That being said, I just want to read a few highlights from the student or from parent letters, because I think I want to really acknowledge that the voices of this community deserve to be heard. From the letters, I've heard things like, when you learn a new language, you also learn about another culture and expand your worldview. It is so wonderful to have choices. We have a cross-cultural and bilingual friendship because our son's enrollment in the dual language program at Catalino. What is clear from talking with other families in this situation is that we're all motivated and interested in DLI. I think interest will continue to grow, so a no vote doesn't change the need, just postpone the outcome. The research that was presented on DLI in the past and the data Ms. Pursoon have provided so far are propelling the community to really want this program for our children. The more I've researched this program, the more I've come to like it and think it would be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and so on and so forth. So I think it's really important to acknowledge Spanish and English voices across the community, across socioeconomic levels. There is a strong, strong desire for this program to be implemented now.
Yeah, I don't think there's any anyone who disagrees with the benefits of the program. I think it comes more down to the board's responsibility. What I'm really in favor of is addressing language with all of our students and providing access to this to a second language at an early level for all of our students. I like the BLI program, and I think it's a valuable option for families. But I really think it's incumbent, and I don't think we want to make Catalino a DLI school. I think that was clear last week. I think it's clear that we're too small of a district to have a DLI school only. So I think it's incumbent upon Aliso and the staff at Aliso, and we had this discussion last year when we approved this program initially, that Aliso was going to come up with a language alternative, and that did not happen. And I think we recognize the demand from the community, and I think that's why we're here. That's why we're having this discussion. But when you look at Jessica, you made a really good point tonight, and it wasn't something I had thought of before, because we've talked about this exodus of families from Aliso to enter into the program at Catalino, but those families could very well, or some of them could very well, win the lottery and leave anyhow. But I think our concern is that, and I think most of you would acknowledge that the families that are participating in this program are very high participatory families, and I think we all want to maintain the community schools, right? Maureen, you've made a big point about the going to your community school, and I think we all advocate that. And I know we took our time last year, the year before, in approving the DLI program, and I think it was beneficial for us because we worked out some kinks. And I know people aren't necessarily in advocating for that, but I think postponing for a year so that Catalino can, one, get prepared for 3 classes, and having really almost 70% of a class being in the dual language program, and that Aliso then can create a program that provides an alternative. But I think on top of that, I think it's really important that both schools, all 3 schools really, Summerland as well, are able to. I really am a big advocate for early exposure to the second language for all of our students, because what I can see happening, one of my fears is that we create this track, and you're going to have 50% of your of a class is going to have this second language, and then you're going to have the other 50% are going to be are not going to have it. And I think and that's why I think if we're going to since we're going down this track, I think it's really important that we develop a program where all of our students get exposure to a second language. And that doesn't mean that's separate from the DLI program. So all the kids who aren't enrolled in DLI need to have some exposure to second language. And so that's, I'll let somebody else talk. No.
First of all, I want to thank you all for being here. I hear passion and I hear commitment, and I want you to know that as a parent, as a bilingual parent, how much I value bilingual education, and I hear you. We are just at the end of the first year of a 6-year pilot program, and we are asked to consider expanding this program to be responsive to the community. And I feel it's important for us to be responsive to our community. We are here to represent the community. But as board members, our community is just not the people here, the people who are vocal, the people who can organize and who have the resources and the access and experience to come and speak. We represent all our students. There are a lot of needs in our community. We in our community are made up of all people, of teachers, of parents, of staff, and so we have to take all of that into consideration. I've said it this last week. I think DLI is a wonderful opportunity. It's a great program, but for me to consider expansion, like I said, we are not even done with the first year. It's a pilot program. I would like to have an independent review so that we can have an independent view of what's working. We know that a lot is working. We know that. But I'm sure as a pilot program, I'm sorry, I'm turning this on. What's not working? And if it's not working, how can we change that? I would have to have a more thorough report on how the students are doing and what's the projection for how they're going to be doing. I would really like to see a concrete plan for teacher recruitment. I know we've talked about that and we've had some expert opinion, but I would like to include a clear analysis of the teachers who are retiring, of resignation. How will we recruit these 15 to 17 teachers with B-clads? And what would happen if we can't recruit? Right now, that sounds like we may be able to, but what will happen 4 years down the road and we're not able to recruit? Is there a plan B for that? I would like to hear that. And how this would affect our school population. So right now, the way it's set up with the lottery, everyone get a chance to have to go. Whether you're from Aliso, Summerlin, Canalino, you have the same chance. So I think we're addressing the needs of some of the families, right? But my concern is that if we expand at Canalino right now to meet the needs at Aliso, to meet this current 68 who are some at Aliso, we're setting up Aliso future families to not have their needs met, right? That it will continue to be at Aliso. Continue to be, the program will continue to operate from Aliso, from Canalino, I'm sorry. So while we can meet the needs of Aliso parents for this year at Canalino, for us to truly meet the needs of Aliso families, we need to focus on Aliso. So I'm in favor of expansion if we come back with a review, a thorough review. Let us know the pros and cons and just a strategic review of the program. But if we're not going to do that yet, and if we're going to expand, I would prefer that we focus on Aliso and do something at Aliso so that the families at Aliso can benefit. And we need to be able to work with our teachers and come up with programs and put some real effort and resources. So that's my thought.
Rogelio?
Can you hear me? A couple of weeks ago or so, this is the impression that I got, that Aliso school, actually, the teaching staff doesn't have a plan for dual language, not in favor of it. About 6 or 7 teachers spoke about that. And I remember saying that dual language actually shouldn't be just at one school, at one elementary school. It should be on both. But we don't have nothing around Aliso. I'm got a plan. This is how we're going to tackle dual language. And another issue is that right now we are, for months, we have been struggling. We have been having discussions about these instructional aides who are losing their job. So money is tight for the district, and this is a problem probably that can be solved or cannot be solved. But at the moment, this is what I see, that it's we cannot because we see beyond. We might have another situation. Let's say next year that the one we are dealing right now. You're probably familiar with it. We don't know what the future's gonna look at. Gonna look at other districts. We might, I don't know. We might be probably be laying off more people. Maybe not. No one can tell. But I'm holding on. I'm just at this moment. I would like to see. If Alice is going to approve it or not, then I would like to see that. As of last meeting, I didn't see any of that, and that's my opinion. I would like to wait and see. And last year, the board approved dual language immersion, and the community got it, and we approved it on, if I'm not mistaken, February 14 of last year, and I would prefer to wait and see.
So I also want to thank everybody who spoke here tonight, but also send us emails. I can speak for myself, but I can assume for my fellow board members that, you know, we've really, really been studying this and reflecting on this, and I'd say more than probably any other agenda item that we've had, because we take this very seriously. I responded to many of you in your emails, and one thing I really realized is that the decisions that we make up here for one school doesn't just affect one school. There's a ripple effect in all of Carpinteria Unified. And again, that's part of being a small district, but it also means that the decisions we make with that and that ripple effect really affect cohorts of students for years to come. And so we take that really, really seriously. I have a few things. One is, and the reason why we reflect on this so much is because we do want to listen to the parents and the constituents. We all I think, on parents having choices for their children in the public education system. You've not been afforded that for a long time, and I'm also really thrilled for just the family engagement showing up about something that you care about for your children. I also hear concern in teachers' voices, the fear of being displaced, the fear of not knowing the future of their professional careers. You know, I get all of that too. So this is a really hard decision. One of the things I've just learned in my own professional career is when expansion happens too fast, we end up really trying to fix things quicker instead of being able to learn, again, reflect, make the adjustments needed before going to full scale. So that's one of my huge concerns in regard to expanding right now. Just the rule of thumb of, you know, going slow to go fast. The more that we can learn with this pilot project, the faster we can move forward as a district to do expansion. I also am worried that we put all our eggs in the one option of dual language immersion of the 90-10 when there's 5 other options. One parent who wrote to me spoke about the unique needs of each child, and even children in the same family. Each of those students has different needs and needs the individualization for them to thrive, and maybe dual language immersion 90-10 works for, sibling 1, but, Spanish language development exposure works for child 2, and I think increasing options and not just having the one option is also really important. And then finally, as I'm just kind of crunching the numbers here of the DLI interest, of the 64, I don't quite see how the numbers match up where we would be able to even have a 3rd classroom. Currently, there's 27 English-speaking, 19 Spanish, and 18 bilingual. So for going for the third, the numbers don't even kind of add up to that. So, I'm okay with the proposal, but I'm also not necessarily in favor of the next year's 3rd classroom expansion, but I'm comfortable with the rest of the recommendation. So, but we can discuss some more.
So, I'm very familiar with Proposition 58. I'm not sure if everyone here is. Proposition 58 is a proposition which means it was passed by the voters of California. What it does is it puts an emphasis on multilingual and bilingual education. And what it does is it allows parents to basically come to their schools and say, we want a multilingual program. They can't necessarily dictate which program it is, but it's a mandate. What I'm hearing is that is some fear-based decision-making, which, as we all know, is never the best way to make decisions, out of fear. Let's be really, really clear about what this proposal is asking for. It's asking for 1 additional kindergarten teacher and 1 additional 1st grade teacher starting in the year 2019. That is backed up by, 15 families that have spoken here, either through letters or in the board. Proposition 58 gives those parents a lot of backing. It's a law. It's a law from California saying that school districts must provide multilingual education. You can't tell families, well, we're not going to give you DLI because we're afraid of the consequences that will have on our other schools and to our teachers. That's not what the law provides. The law says schools are now, if there's a demand, which there is, that schools must provide that multilingual education. So unless, it doesn't say on a 5-year timeline. It doesn't say, when it feels comfortable. I understand that change is challenging and difficult, and these families are going to be here to support that. These 5-year-olds in this room right now that are learning Spanish, they're the ones that are going to be running things in 20 years. And they're the ones making these decisions. So we're making very long-term decisions, and we shouldn't make them based out of fear. We should make them based out of logic and rationale and careful planning, which is what Proposition 58 guides us towards.
So I liked a lot of what you said, Michelle. I think that my feeling is that families don't necessarily want the exact same program at both sites. I think we need to give options. That's what this is all about. We want to provide choice and variability. And I agree that the numbers don't necessarily support the 3 classes right now.
I'd like to call a vote to the motion on the table.
I'd like to amend the motion on the table.
Okay, let's vote on the original motion, and then we will vote on an amended if that one doesn't pass. So,
Can you maybe?
Yeah, can you repeat your motion?
Sure. I move to approve the recommendation, which is to have a Catalino continue to offer a dual language immersion program of 90-10 with 2 kindergarten classes and 2 grade 1 classes in the fall of 2018 and 19. With first right of refusal given to families who were refused from the lottery this year, and to ask Aliso to begin planning on a multilingual program with full implementation by fall 2019. Also, did you want me? I guess we can include the full recommendation in this motion.
It's whatever your motion is.
Well, that was the motion as I stated it before. To collect and analyze grade level assessment, to provide an annual report, to make annual programmatic adjustments, and to start and continue the work of a multilingual biliteracy program committee to make ongoing recommendations and program adjustments.
Okay, so just to be clear, your motion is the recommendation of staff
with the addition of first right of refusal given to kinder students who are outside of the lottery.
Is it? Were you including the permanency of the program?
It doesn't state anything.
No, but your
permanent
original motion had that permanency.
I think I would like to just go with the recommendation as stated.
All right, all those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No.
Nay.
Nay.
Abstentions? Rogelio, how did you vote?
Abstain.
Okay. Do I have another motion?
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna.
You gonna make one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna make the motion that we continue to offer DLI at 90-10 with 2 clay classes and 2 grade 1 classes in fall. And then, should I read again?
Yeah.
And then the Aliso team to explore a pilot program of one of the above models by February 2019 with full implementation by fall 2019. Collect and analyze grade level assessment data to monitor student progress in both languages in both models. Provide annual reports to the board on student progress in each program model. Make annual programmatic adjustments based on student achievement data and parent interest. And discuss multilingual biliteracy programs at the monthly elementary curriculum meetings to make recommendations for program adjustments and or resources.
I'll second that.
Okay, is there a discussion on that?
So basically, all you're asking to make the program permanent in its current form.
I didn't say permanent.
No, I think the amendment is to take out the planning for 3 classes next, or for fall 2019, 2020.
So I do want us to explore the option of expanding. I just don't want it to make that as a requirement for this motion, but I would like us to consider expanding after an independent review so that we can look at what works, what doesn't work, what will happen if this happened, that doesn't happen. So I'm not opposed to expanding the program. I just don't want it to make it a part of this motion that we need to expand the program prior to an independent review.
So,
Can you read it again?
Jacqueline, for the bullet point of collect and analyze grade level assessment data, did you want to put it by an independent evaluator in that?
Well, I would assume that this is just a part of ongoing report. The
I think you should never assume. That's how we get here.
Yes.
Can I ask Diana a question? So when you said make annual programmatic adjustments, I mean, if this is an ongoing program, and you have, if you have a similar situation to this, meaning far more enrollment than a lottery is able to provide, isn't making a programmatic adjustment able to say we're going to add a classroom?
Yes. So that language specifically reflects that on an annual basis that we'll analyze how well students are doing, and we'll look at the parent interest, and we'll make adjustments based on that input. So it's not locking a program in for the next 6 years. It's being responsive every year.
So a year from now, if we were in the same position, rather than, I'm not understanding how what the advantage is to not planning for an additional classroom, even though basically if we approve this, we're basically saying there could be 3 classrooms or 4 classrooms in fall 2019, as this is written, as this motion stands.
In my mind, that if there is, after an evaluation, that we decide that we can expand, then it goes back to the board, and at that point, the board approves the expansion, but not lock in the expansion prior to an evaluation.
But as it's written, you've just said, if we approve this, it doesn't need to come back to the board.
Oh, no, it would come back to the board. What I'm asking is the board to do is every year evaluate in response to parent requests, just like we did this year. We did not hold the lottery, but there's no one said to me, don't hold the lottery. I mean, we could have very well just held the lottery, because based on what the vote was last year, we should have just held the lottery. But because this year we're working towards being more responsive to parent request, then we looked at that. The leadership team looked at the numbers and said, we can't just hold a lottery. We need to reconsider what the board approved last February. So I'm making the point that we really need to consider this program on a yearly basis, on an annual basis, based on what the assessment data tells us, the student progress tells us, and based on what the parent interest is. For example, if next year, let's say we vote not to expand it, and next year Aliso develops their program, and we don't have a great interest in DLI because the Aliso families are very interested in the program that has been started at Aliso, then we don't need to expand. But let's say we have 300 families that want DLI, then we have to think about that. So I just don't want to be locked in, because honestly, the board vote last year really locked it in. So really, I should have just held a lottery.
But
I could have just gone ahead and held a lottery.
It doesn't lock us in because like the recommendations that were approved in that actual thing were never followed through, which is we never created a committee. Like, I feel like if that had actually followed through and a curriculum committee had been formed, that curriculum committee would have been planning for the future that whole year and would have ideally understood the parent interest and not had it come to a point where it's like, I'm just concerned that if each year it's coming back to the board and this huge outpouring, I don't know that we're going to get this outpouring again next year. I don't know that we're ever going to have families across our spectrum as interested as they are now, because look, they're showing up, they're doing the things we want them to do to be part of the democratic process, and then we're basically telling them, thanks but no thanks, we're going to do what we want.
That's not what we're telling them at all.
It is. Yes, it is.
No, it's not. We can't. We're up here as representatives of the entire community, and I realize you guys are very passionate about this subject, and I don't think anyone's denying the passion, and we appreciate the input and the feedback, but our responsibility is to the entire district, and agencies get into
Here, Andy, this is the entire district.
Oh.
So agencies get into trouble all the time when they react to and don't study issues, and I think it benefited the program by delaying it a year. It may have not benefited the families that were interested 2 years ago, but it benefited the program. And ultimately, our job as representatives of the community is to ensure that we have a strong academic program. And I understand that's difficult for people to hear because it may not affect you the way you're desirous of it affecting you, but we need to look at the entire district, and we need to ensure that the programs that we do implement are as good as they possibly can be, and that are as effective as they possibly can be. And I know that's hard sometimes. You know, that's really most of the decisions that we make up here as a board are not fun decisions. We have to, cut budgets. We have to get rid of, we have to, cut positions. We have to do all sorts of things. But, and I'm empathetic with all of you. I wish there was a program like this for my children when they were in school. But, and we recognized that last year, and we implemented a program that is benefiting a lot of the children in our district. And I appreciate the fact that it is bringing this cross-cultural connection, because I think we are all desirous of the Spanish-speaking families in our district feeling included. But you all need to be empathetic of the entire district. I'm not trying to be derogatory or insulting here, but it's important that you look at all of the families in our district and all of the schools in our district and empathize with them. It'd be great if we could have dual language, or really, I said it earlier, I think it's important that all of our students get exposure to language. I think that's really, if I could make a wish, I would say that's what we do. We and then have the dual language as a kind of a program for those who want to go the next step. Because I think just having that exposure to language at a young age is going to benefit everyone. It's gonna make that disconnect or that isolation that Spanish-speaking kids feel at a young level. It's gonna eliminate that I don't hate to use the term, but that exclusiveness that happens at teenage years when kids who speak Spanish and kids who don't speak Spanish, they talk about each other. I'd really like that to get reduced. And so I think exposure to language for all of our students is very, very important. I think we do need to study this a little more before we expand it. We're not saying no, we're not going to have a first grade class, an additional first grade class in a year. All we're saying is we need to evaluate the information and the feedback and the results that we get from somebody who's an expert and show us that we have tangible. And I'm not doubtful that we won't see good results. I just think it's important. I know everyone's upset because we didn't do what.
Well, we haven't done anything yet. Actually, there's a motion on the table.
I'm just trying to explain, because I know there's a lot of. I don't think I've explained myself very well, and I'm trying to. And I feel for everybody, and I think that. One of the hardest things, and I apologize here for kind of going backwards, but one of the hardest things I've learned as a board member is that you can't make radical changes. As a business owner, it's really easy, and it's kind of what you do. You make big changes in your business and to take advantage of situations. you can't do that as a public agency because it's a big ship, and the big ships have a lot of momentum. And if you make a big change one direction or another, and maybe it's not a great analogy, just let me finish. It's really hard to change back on the course, and it's not a perfect analogy, but I'm just saying it's really that's why things need to be studied and decided upon in a more thoughtful way. So, apologize for taking too much time here.
Can I just speak to one point, which is that again, it's one kindergarten class, which would be added in response to this year's extreme need. I think everyone understands that if the following year there weren't enough people to fulfill 3 classes, there could not be 3 classes, and so forth and so on. And so programs have an organic life to them. You cannot give all students access to multilingual education by taking away DLI from the ones that want it. That is illogical. Right now, all that we have to offer in terms of multilingual education is DLI. And so we see an extreme desire for that. If we want to add more multilingual programs, there is nothing stopping us. We do have to add multilingual programs, as Prop 58 dictates. We don't have we're not given the opportunity to wait for the best possible analysis of everything. And I think saying that we need those things does a real discredit to Ms. Pursoon, who has worked extensively to find the best models and the best experts. Dr. Pagan was here with reports. He's been working with the staff. They have trained. So Ms. Pursoon did the hard work for us, and now the parents are bridging the gap with interest, and all they're asking for is one kindergarten for either next fall or the following fall, and the program will expand and contract organically as need dictates, but you can't, and then in terms of the schools and Aliso and all of that, we can't figure out all of the pieces today. It's impossible. There are too many moving parts. But again, I'm just going to go back. We cannot make our decisions based on fear of possible changes. Yes, last year, by passing DLI, we committed ourselves to a particular path. Not ironclad, not forever into a million years, but we did take a 6-year step towards something. Prop 58 actually put the feet on our fire and fanned those flames, and it continues to fan those flames. So what I hear are 4 adults who are relatively deaf to the voices of the community without providing any concrete steps towards solving the problem, which we all agree is at hand. All of us recognize that we want multilingual education for our students. All of us agree that the parents demand it. So, unless this motion includes some concrete action towards the future to address the expanding need for DLI, I'm not sure what the whole point of this project was.
So I don't appreciate saying that I was deaf to comments, because I believe I spoke to comments, so I definitely was listening. And I'm not sure what you're referring to in terms of being fearful, because personally I'm not afraid of the conversation. And I think that by us approving it last year, we showed that we were willing to take that leap of faith. So rather than get personal in regards to your opinion versus our opinions, is there anything more for us to discuss in regards to this motion, or are we ready to take a vote?
I just want to clarify that it's basically just continuing the program for next year.
To me, it reads, it's continuing the program as is at Catalino for next year, telling and directing Aliso to come up with a model that they are going to be implementing, making sure that we are collecting and analyzing grade level assessment data to monitor student progress so that we can have that conversation on a year-to-year basis, having that discussion annually, if not more than annually, making annual programmatic adjustments based on that discussion, and making sure that elementary curriculum committee meeting for multilingual biliteracy is in place. That's what I understand the motion to be.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Somebody called for the vote, so all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, the motion carries 3-2.
Would it be possible to take a brief
Yes,
recess?
let's take a 10-minute recess.
I just wanted to inform everyone the lottery would be next Thursday, May 3rd at 5:30 in the board.
Thank you. We're back in session, and we just have one announcement before we go on to our next agenda item.
So we'll hold the DLI lottery on Thursday, May 3rd at 5:30 in the boardroom, and there'll be 48 slots.
Thank you. All right, we're on item F2, approval of proposal for Lexia reading for Carpinteria Unified School District United Way for literacy for Aliso and Canalino.
I move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great. All right, we're on to item G, business operations and facilities. We had a couple of agenda items from consent moved. So let's go ahead and address those first. So the first is C6, which is approval to submit Form J13A, request for allowance of attendance due to emergency school closures and its accompanying affidavit.
I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
I just had a minor point which felt important but very, very small, which is that on part 1 of the application, under section B, school closure, nature of emergency, and I mentioned this to Diana, but I didn't catch it till today. Following the January 9 debris flow, we all know that it's 2018, but it just seemed important to me that that detail be part of the application.
What page are you looking at?
Sorry, I'm going too quickly. On the application, the J13A application, page 2.
So the actual application begins on page 7.
Oh, interesting.
And on page 7, it does distinguish the 17-18 school year.
No, just here where it's like the written account of it?
Yes. So on the same line where it where the superintendent is listed, Diana F. Rigby, over to the right, it does have fiscal year. It's on the first page, section A.
Right. I understood that it has that's the fiscal year. And again, feel free to disregard this, but it felt important to me that, like, I just was making sure that it wasn't a minor oversight that could be important and could hold up the application. That's it.
Are you referring to section B?
Right, where we say following the January 9 debris flow. We all know that it's 2018, but it doesn't state it, and it's clearly important that they understand that the debris flow, the 2018.
Right, so that's what
this
section
year.
A is distinguishing, is what year are you working in.
Okay.
And section B calls out the specific dates of the disaster.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how the application works.
Okay, so you don't put the date on the nature of the emergency?
No, it's a complete application packet.
Okay, all right, fine. That was the only thing I was just, it felt important to call that out if it was an oversight.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, C9, resolution number 18-827, authorizing closure of Aliso State Preschool due to mandatory evacuation orders.
Move to approve.
Second.
So it was the same thing, same issue, no other issues.
Okay. So that's noted. Okay. All right.
We need to approve it.
We need a roll call.
Oh, is it a resolution?
It's a resolution, yeah.
Maureen.
Aye.
Rogelio.
Aye.
Jacqueline.
Aye.
Michelle.
Aye.
I'm aye.
Thanks. Okay, we're back to G1, SBCEO Second Interim Report Analysis and Recommendations. Maureen.
So you have attached to the packet the analysis and letter from the County Education Office regarding our second interim report, and I am happy to report that they concur with our positive certification, and I don't need to get into all the details of the letter, but the county is a great partner and has great confidence in the information that we share, that the board sees, and that we collect for our interims. And I think these letters are a reflection of that partnership.
Congratulations.
We need approval on this?
No, that's just a
Just information?
presentation.
Okay.
Thanks. All right, G2, warrants.
I move to approve as presented.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I just had a few questions again that I caught today, brought to the attention of Diana, but I also admitted that we probably wouldn't have enough time to get to them, so I'm just calling them out now. Again, on the first page, April 5th, Shaw Contracting, the Thomas Fire, are we still having ongoing costs related to that, or have all our costs been paid and now we're just catching up with the invoices?
This round of invoices were for the mud debris flow cleanup, and I believe we are, if not completely caught up, close to being caught up on all those invoices.
And is it still around the $600,000 mark?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing, just this conference request, California Coalition for Adequate School Housing, is that a request that we?
What page are you on?
Oh, sorry, page 2 of 4. It says.
Are you on the right report? The warrant report dated 3/3 through 4/2.
This is the one that was included in our agendas.
Okay. So you have a conference request for whom?
It's April 12th, 2018. Maybe I don't have the correct warrants.
Page 2?
Yes. 4/12/2018.
They're all 4/12/2018. Where are you?
It's 2199 is the number.
Check
Warrant
number
that's just paying for the conference that was attended in February.
Okay.
Yes.
And then
and that conference was approved last November.
okay. And then the last thing, I sent an email to Diana. I'm sorry that it was so late. So, but the last item per Tammy Ryan, it's just below that, 512212, 412, Deere and Company.
Though that is a, I believe that was also, was that?
That's the grant.
Yeah, this is all from the CTE grant, not the South County Schools grant, and we did those purchase orders at a prior meeting. These are the payments.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. G3, gifts, grants, donations. G3A. Earlier tonight, we saw a presentation from Westerly Flowers to Aliso School Arts Program in the amount of $15,000, but I think it was a little bit more, almost $16,000. But we're being asked to approve the donation.
Move to approve with gratitude.
I don't know if this is important, but isn't it to the STEM program?
STEAM.
STEAM,
STEAM, which includes arts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The A in STEAM is arts, right?
Yeah. Do we have a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Next is a donation from Rotary Club of Carpinteria Noontime to Carpinteria High School in the amount of $200 for their Interact Club.
Move to approve with gratitude.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Right. H, Measure U, presentation on leaseback facilities construction by Craig Price.
So I'm going to begin by recommending that as a district we utilize the leaseback method of selecting contractors for all our upcoming Measure U projects. This method provides more flexibility in selecting a contractor based on the best value for the district instead of just the lowest bid price. In addition, the contractor is involved during the design process with the end result of a guaranteed maximum price. And our legal counsel, Craig Price, is here tonight. He will be presenting some information on the leaseback method. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you. Good evening. The hour is late, and so I'm going to make this a brief presentation. There's a considerable amount of detail in the memo that you have from me that goes through the various aspects of lease-leaseback and the requirements that are imposed. But as the superintendent just indicated, we believe that it's a very beneficial methodology for school facility construction contracts. Your facility staff, Mr. Winiger, and his staff, as well as your panel of architects, are very familiar with this process. They've used it successfully. They have brought in significant projects in the past in other districts that have been very, very close to the initial cost estimates that were provided during the design phase. And the reason that we're bringing this to your attention is because, assuming that all of you are not familiar with it, it is indeed a departure from traditional low bid. Any questions that previously existed about this methodology, and there were lawsuits and whatnot that resulted in a hiatus in using lease-leaseback beginning in 2015. All of the questions that were raised were entirely resolved beginning last year when the California legislature amended Education Code 17406 and in effect said we authorize school districts to utilize lease-leaseback. They revised 17406 so that there are now additional procedures that need to be followed which don't change the overall substance of what we do. And what we do basically is enter into a site lease where we lease a portion of a facility that is going to have improvements constructed to a contractor. The contractor then enters into a document called a facilities lease with us. And over the course of the construction, we pay the contractor partial payments that coincide with the work that's done. And at the conclusion of the project, title then fully reverts back to the district. There are extensive documents that are associated with each contract that you will ultimately be presented when the first award comes before you. It's a pretty thick package, so we don't want anybody to be shocked by what it looks like. But basically, there are two lease documents, and they incorporate all of the general contract provisions and general conditions that are traditionally associated with school facility contracts. What's different now that's significant that just was initiated with the legislation last year is that districts now select the contractor who's going to be doing the work through what's called a best value process. It's semi-competitive. The district issues an RFP to pre-qualified contractors, and in response to the RFP, various submissions are made. The RFP is advertised widely, and then a district team evaluates and scores the proposal and selects the contractor who provides best value. Best value includes very important considerations that have to do with the track record of the contractor in question, the familiarity with procedures that relate to school district construction, relate to the number of claims, if any, that the contractor has had in the past, how the contractor has brought in his or her jobs in comparison to estimates for various projects and other school districts with other public agencies. So there is a means of evaluating who is likely going to be the most successful contractor. And then the idea is, as it was originally and remains so today, that once a contractor is selected, there is no contract price at the outset because the design is still not yet complete. It hasn't even gone to the DSA. But a contractor is selected who will put in their proposal a price for doing what's called pre-construction services. And from the time that your board would enter into an agreement with a contractor, the contractor then commences working with the design team, working with the architects, working with the district team in order to secure a design and specifications that will be as error-free and be as efficient as is possible. The contractor, as part of that process, will do a constructability review, will do value engineering, and will be part of the team. And at the end of the process, after the plans have then been submitted to the DSA, and when they are approved, the district and the contractor will enter into negotiations to develop what's called a GMP, a guaranteed maximum price. Once that guaranteed maximum price is set, the contract documentation will be submitted to your board for approval. You have the right to reject it, should you so elect. But with a guaranteed maximum price having been set, most of the contingencies that occur in traditional construction contracts are, practically speaking, eliminated. And specifically, I mean change orders. The largest criticism of traditional low bid is that somebody comes in low and all of a sudden you're going to get change order after change order. Well, the way the documentation is written and the way that the process works, by and large, prevents a contractor from coming back claiming that there were errors in the design or the specifications because the contractor has already signed off on it. So change orders are generally limited to surprise conditions that nobody was or could be aware of. And as a result, as I said at the outset, commonly projects are brought in very close to their original estimate. And if they're not, your staff will have the ability to bring before you, once a guaranteed maximum price has been put on the table by the contractor, if there's a major discrepancy, we'll bring that information to you, and there's still going to be an opportunity for revisions to the plans and specs, should that be necessary. So the net effect of this is that you're going to be able to hire good contractors, and I can't emphasize enough that we have a pool of excellent contractors in Santa Barbara County, as well as San Luis Obispo County, who have proven track records in doing school district construction using LLB, some of them having very successfully worked with your facility staff and district architects. So there's the added benefit not only of having folks coming aboard that have a proven track record, but it also boosts local employment because the subcontractors that they likewise hire are also vetted and selected through this same process. And the contractor itself is required to competitively bid or semi-competitively bid to get the subs. So we have a process that hopefully is going to allow you to maximize your Measure U dollars with a minimum of cost overruns so that you're going to have as much available in order to fulfill your FMP. So that's my overview. Do you have questions?
I did a little research on this. Mr. Sarvis brought this to our attention last year as well. I don't know, I guess after the law had passed, but he didn't go into, I don't remember him going into detail about the new law and its changes. I did some of my own research on this too, and just kind of, it's obviously the new law was passed in response to kind of allegations of corruption or partiality that the previous leaseback program had, specifically in Fresno, it sounds like. So I guess because it's been sort of amended to be more similar to the traditional low bid process, but it's some sort of hybrid now, what are the real, pros and cons of it versus the traditional bid process? I've heard you say that it's potentially keeps from having cost overruns. Are there other pros and cons?
The advantages now are the same that existed previously.
With leaseback? Or
I'm sorry, the advantages of leaseback in its current iteration are the same as the advantages that pre-existed the legislation that went into effect in 2017. What happened, briefly, is that there were some contractors that objected to public agencies circumventing the traditional low bid process, even though the Education Code provided then that leaseback was an authorized means of proceeding. Nevertheless, in Davis versus Fresno, a contractor prevailed, claimed that the lease was not a true lease, it was not a financing mechanism, it was a subterfuge to get around low bidding, and also claimed that there was a conflict of interest by having the contractor who was selected do the pre-construction services, in that allegedly that contractor would have an advantage in getting the ultimate contract. The Court of Appeal in Davis upheld the contractor's claim. Subsequently, in an Alameda County case, the Court of Appeal came to exactly the opposite conclusion. They said it is a lease, and the reason it's a lease and the reason that it's approved is because Education Code 17406 says that it's approved. So there was one Court of Appeal decision for, and there was one Court of Appeal decision against. Then in May of last year, almost a year ago, a third Court of Appeal, Tabor I think it was called, weighed in and said, no, what the district has done here under LLB is perfectly acceptable, and we totally disagree with the court in Fresno. Thank you. And all that's interesting, and there have been commentators all over the place weighing in, and many districts would have gone ahead and resumed using LLB merely on the basis of the Court of Appeal decisions. However, all that practically became moot because after Davis, it upset the entire public agency and particularly school district construction industry because of the great value that school districts found that they were getting. So they went to the legislature, and essentially the legislature overwrote the objections that had been asserted in the Davis v. Fresno case and said it is a true lease. In order to avoid conflict of interest, here's what you need to do. That is, you need to go through an RFP process, which had not existed before. And you need to have a determination made based on specified criteria concerning which proposal offers the best value to the district, and so on. And so, as part of the memo that I prepared, I went into some detail as to what the actual requirements are in 17406 insofar as what it is that needs to be done. And in reference to that, the next step in the process, perhaps the first board meeting in June, will be to present the board with an administrative regulation that's required by the statute, the new statute, that specifies the procedures that you're going to follow. That's a regulation that's going to after adoption by you, need to be published for a couple weeks. And then following that, at some point, not too far behind, I would expect that there would be the first request for proposal that the district would issue before coming back with contract documents. So in sum, Maureen, there's a lot of information on the internet, but the very bottom line is the objections that were previously asserted in litigation, the issues that previously arose have been resolved. Now, in having worked on some of these contracts, a number of them actually in my office, on occasion we have a contractor who says, well, I'm concerned about the possibility of this, that, or the other thing. And so in that case, we work with the contractor's attorney to say, okay, well, how can we've drafted our documents, their templates, in a way that we think that they are bulletproof. And I mean that, although I don't pretend to be an insurance company, but we've done the best we can. But if there are issues that are raised by anybody along the way, then we work to provide clarifying language. And that's certainly what we would intend to do with you. So that's a long answer to a short question.
Well, I'm just, I guess, not being an expert in construction, and also to clarify for folks listening who might be asking themselves, it sounds like a complicated program, why not just go with what we have? In summary, it sounds like what you're saying is that it's sort of an amended low bid process that allows for potentially a faster construction with a potentially lower cost and potential use of local employment. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. And you included a faster process, and it definitely is, because you can get through the process without waiting for DSA approval by doing all the preliminary work under the pre-construction services agreement. So that's an important aspect too. Yes, this has come to be a preferred method by school districts around the state.
So what I like best about the lease back method, I think, well, first I think there's some fear or maybe not fear, concern that it's a blank check for contractors. And I think you've explained that it's not. What I really like about the lease back is that it's a collaborative effort, and normally it's a collaborative effort between the designer, the contractor, and the owner, us. But what it does, normally in a construction project, the owner, the school district in this case, takes on all of the risk associated with the design, because normally you're not going to get it's difficult to get the contractor and designer to pit against each other. You know, if someone excludes something, the contractor is going to say it's not there. And so what happens is the contractor's involved from the very beginning, and they, like as Craig explained, they sign off on the plans. Their plans are being submitted to DSA at the same time, so our fixed overhead costs go down because we don't have as much time invested in the process, because the process the timeline gets compressed. But the best thing is that the contractor is now sharing that risk that we are normally carrying all by ourselves, and that essentially we become one team. And I had great success on a number of projects with lease back, and they were very challenging projects, and a lot of our projects are challenging because there's a lot of design conditions in old schools that designers may not take into consideration, but if the contractor is involved in the process, they may find something that the designer doesn't necessarily see, and that would normally change into become a change order after the contract. Because we have to be honest, most of especially in the building trades, the contractor, the margins on the initial bid are fairly low, and the contractors are going to make most of their money on change orders. And this takes that risk that we're basically faced with, and it shares it with the contractor. And so I think, and because we're able to pre-select a highly qualified group of contractors, ethical contractors, that we have more confidence in the ability of them to do the work and to work together and discuss things that may be of concern down the line. So I'm a big advocate of the system, and I think it's for districts who are budget conscious and trying to get the most bang for their buck, as we are. This is a really good method. It doesn't work for every contract we put out, but it will definitely work for a lot of the projects that we have coming up.
So in the future, we're going to be asked to vote on this. Is there any way to see some analysis of our? Do the change orders come before the board?
Yes.
They do?
Mm-hmm.
So is there a way to see how many change orders we've had so far as a way of sort of analyzing whether this is a productive?
Well, your major construction projects go back to, the high school athletic stadium and also the middle school. And so I don't know, going back historically, how much useful information you're going to get, except I can offer that in connection with the high school athletic stadium, the contractor filed a lawsuit against the district and against the architect. And that was a case that I participated in, and we tried. So anecdotally, it doesn't directly answer your question, but that's a good example of something that would not have occurred in all likelihood with leaseback, because this was an out-of-area bidder with whom the district had no previous experience, that had not done work in Santa Barbara County, as I recall, who was known to raise issues like change orders. And when the district and the architect stood up to that contractor, there was a price to pay, which amounted to attorney fees and so on, to successfully defend the lawsuit there. So, I can also tell you, without getting too far afield, that the last major contract that was done at Santa Barbara City College under traditional low bid, before, when I started working with them, we switched over to LLB for the remainder of their bond projects. It's the Garvin Theater. And for a variety of reasons, and I'm not pinning it all on the contractor by any means, but there was a multi-million-dollar cost overrun on the project. And without necessarily it being anybody's fault, it became clear that if there had been a team working, as Andy said, collaboratively from the outset, going through and actually looking at constructability and looking at value engineering, a great deal of that would have been avoided. But I can't point you to any data. If the board wanted, I could probably go back and find some other examples from a neighboring school district.
Okay, that was really thorough. Thank you, and it made it very clear about the benefits. So thank you.
Okay, well, thank you.
All right, we're on to H2, approval of contracted services with FCG Environmental for the campus modernization at Canalino, buildings A, B, H, and J. Can I get a motion?
I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
H3, Measure U expenditure reports as of March 31st, 2018. So there are, how many reports in those 12 attachments? Are we asked to approve those? Or
It's
just?
for information only.
Information only?
H3.
H3? Okay. Is there any presentation on that?
Assume it's online or
H3?
for the public.
What, Cindy?
I did not prepare a presentation. This is for information only because we want you to have all of the reports that the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee receives. Obviously, they reviewed that, all of the expenditures in a lot of detail. You will be updated probably at the end of summer when we have a lot more to report on our projects, and then there will be a presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, H4, accepting the letter of withdrawal from Best Contracting Services, Inc. and award contract to Commercial Roofing Systems, Inc. for the multipurpose building roof replacement at Aliso.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay.
I'd like to make a comment on actually.
Okay.
It's on this one. Right, let's, page 2, the bid for the, let's say for best contracting services was made on, if I'm not mistaken, it's 4/13, 2018, correct? 4/12, I think.
It was the bid opening, yeah.
Yes. And then for 137, then it was major clerical mistake was discovered, which ended up costing 83,000 more, and this mistake was discovered on when was on the 16th, correct? 3 days later.
Mm-hmm.
But the question I have is that how did it happen, if this best contracting services like paid a penalty for it for that mistake?
I think it was just a bid. Like
Just
they,
a bid?
they submitted the bid
so
and then
they
made a mistake.
You want to address
To
it?
answer this one, we opened bids on the roofing project at Aliso School, and we had 5 contractors. Low bid was Best Roofing, and they made a clear. And the contract code or law allows a contractor to, within 5 days, under section, I believe it's 5100, give us a formal letter and back out of the bid. And we give him back his bid bond at that time, and we go to bidder number 2. And so that's what we did. And so we have Best Roofing out of the bid, and we have Commercial Roofing taking over. Our estimate on that project was around $300,000, so we're still below our threshold on that project.
Okay.
It happens. It, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He couldn't have done it for the amount. In our office, we did the estimate on it, and that was the cost of the material. There was no labor.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Right, H5, fee estimate from Carpenter Valley Water District for fire hydrant construction deposits at Canalino.
So moved.
Second.
Is this an approval? Doesn't say an approval.
Cost of $50,000, isn't that what it says?
Estimated fee of 50,000.
Or do we not have a attachment?
Do you
with
need
this one?
approval?
Pardon me?
Do you need approval for this fee?
I do need approval for
Yes.
this.
All right,
Yes.
yes, approval.
Okay, all right,
So I moved it.
all right.
I seconded it.
Any other discussion?
So,
Did we not have it? I didn't see a. Anyways, it's just for sprinkler systems.
fire hydrant.
A new water line?
The Canalino site is required to have 2 fire hydrants by the Division of State Architect. And so we contract with the water department. They do the installation. Their estimate is $25,000 per fire hydrant. And that's an estimate. So we have to set a deposit to them
I've got a question on that, Dave. Do we have to contract with them?
Yes.
You do.
It's their water line.
Yeah, but I've in the past I've worked with other water districts where if you put up a bond, the contractor puts up a bond, they can. I mean, do we think we could do it cheaper, or?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay.
If it goes over, I mean, it could go more than the 50,000, depending upon if there's any obstacles in the way. If we're going horizontally and there's a sewer line that is in the same plane as the water line is,
yeah.
Then we're going to have to go around it, above it, below it. It might take more time. Again, it's the 50,000 is an estimate, and they want to do it. It's on their property. It's on city right away.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is going to be at the front of school all along in Linden?
Yeah, there'll be one on Linden Avenue, and there'll be another one put on El Carroll.
Okay.
Are we going to have these at all the school sites where there's major improvements like this? Are there going to be a hydrant request like this at all the school sites?
It depends upon the fire flow. We do an analysis when we start a project and do calculations on what the existing fire hydrants can support. The state fire marshal requires that we meet a certain level of fire flow. And if we don't meet that, then we have to increase, either sprinkle the buildings, which is very expensive also. Okay. We're doing that right now. The next one that you'll see coming up is for getting a sprinkler system meter. And
so we must have had estimates for these, for the water kind of things worked into our...
We didn't know that. When we originally figure a project and you're coming in at a high elevation, you don't know that you're going to be required by the Division of State Architect as you go through the State Fire Marshal's office of having have to increase the fire flow. There's no way of knowing that.
So these expenses actually were not expected, correct?
You normally would not. Well, it depends upon what your fire flow is.
But we have allocated for them in our facilities master plan under contingency. So there's about, I think there's about what, $8 to $10 million in our contingency money.
Set aside.
Like a 25%.
Well, it's that's what it's allocated for, things that are unexpected.
Unforeseen conditions.
Unforeseen
conditions.
conditions.
This is an unforeseen condition.
So it's not unbudgeted. It's just going to be allocated to that unforeseen condition thing.
But having had this one, did it give you a better sense of what the cost might be for these moving forward?
Well, again, I mean, we don't have plans that have been. This plan that's for the 50,000 is for the modular classrooms at Catalino.
Right.
Now, when we go in for modernization of Catalino, their concerns will be met because we've already done the 2 fire hydrants, and now the site meets that.
Got it.
And we'll run into the same conditions. We'll analyze Aliso the same way. We did analyze the middle school the same way.
Okay.
And each site is different.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right. H6, fee from Carpinteria Valley Water District for new fire service line at Carpinteria Middle School.
This is a board approval.
I think they're approvals, yeah?
I move to approve.
Second?
Right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, H7, denial of bid protest by Best Contracting Services, Inc., and approval of contract award to Craig Roof Company, Inc. for administration and cafeteria roof replacement at Carpinteria High School.
So moved.
Second? Sorry. These guys need a new estimator. These guys need a new estimator.
You like that?
No, I think they're, yeah.
Well, it's really close competitive bidding. One's $588 and the other one is $587, and they're about $450 apart. It's really close. Yeah.
Right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right. H8, approval of contract award to Newton Construction and Management, Inc. for the modular science and computer classrooms.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nothing in personnel. Board communications. Maureen?
Ooh, excuse me. I just want to reiterate my support of the democratic process. I sometimes can get frustrated, as I think we all can, but in some ways the process is the whole point of what we have, this project that we have in front of us, this project of the school board. So I appreciate every member of the process, and I actually most of all appreciate the disagreement, because that is how we build greater understanding, and our best ideas are going to come from disagreements, believe it or not. Our best ideas are not going to come from agreeing, because by disagreeing, we're forced to compromise, and I think through compromise is where the ideas that will serve the most people will come from. So without speaking to anything specifically, I just want to say it's always so inspiring to me when parents come out, and especially parents who are Spanish speakers. Our district materials are not translated, our agenda items are not translated, our website is not translated. So even for them to get here and then to have the courage to speak, I know I've never done that in a foreign language, in a meeting where everyone was speaking a different language. So the bottom line is, it's just, this is a messy process, and it's an uncomfortable process, and I'm proud to be a part of this process, even when, things fall differently than I would have hoped that they did. And on a personal note, just seeing my daughter here tonight, she came because she and my husband were both interested in how the dual language immersion program would evolve and change. And her progress, to me, speaks for itself. The success of her success, no one can take that away from her. And I feel blessed that as part of this board, last year I was able to help her start that journey. And I'm committed to finding ways to help all of Carpinteria's children continue their multilingual journey as soon as possible. So, thank you.
I remember when it was during my campaign that I noticed that there were some Hispanic people showing up and then asking questions, not to the board, but later on to me. Then when I got on the board, again, I requested interpreter services, something that had not been done before, and we got that service probably for about until I think at the end of the school year, until June. It was a very good deal, $50 per hour, and then it got canceled. I don't know why. As you can see, we don't know when Hispanic people are going to show up. They could show up again next board meeting, and we're going to have the same communication problems. So I think that it would be a good idea to contract with a company, or because the last time it wasn't someone from the district. It was a company that came from Oxnard, and at $50 an hour, I think it's worth it, and so I would like to advocate for that. We need 4 months. I advocated for interpreter services for, believe me, months. And then we got it, and 3 months later, it was gone. So that's something that I would like to say probably we need to implement again in the district. And another idea is that probably 2 months ago or so at a budget meeting. I said, well, whenever there's disagreements, that means that we had a good board meeting. That's because that's what we need: difference of opinion, difference of ideas to come up with a better solution instead of everyone going one way or the other one or no discussion at all. That means that probably we did a good job, but by disagreeing, by thinking outside the box, I think that brings the best in all of us. Thank you.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Good. All right. Future agenda items, we still have restorative justice practices and district boundary evaluation, so we'll get those on a future agenda item. Okay. Next meeting. There's no more budget study sessions, right, Maureen? Okay. All right. Thank you. We're adjourned.
Thank you.